Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right in front of me, that's Carlene Bragg, super producer Carlene Bragg.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
Carlene is a wonderful producer. I love working with Carlene.
Stop.
I'm back. I had a day off, but I'm back, and I'm excited to be back. I love doing this. I love connecting with you guys on the stream. Again, as I always say, we have a busy show. It's because, seriously, we do have a busy show. A lot going on Impact News. Look, we have live events happening as we speak, from President Donald Trump meeting with his cabinet to a rally happening outside of the U.S. Supreme Court, Karen Reed trial happening live as we speak. We have a lot of stuff happening, and I don't want to waste any time here. Again, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So let's start here. So today, it marks a somber anniversary. So this is a look from earlier on the campus of UNC Charlotte. So today marks 6 years since a tragic shooting on the campus of UNC Charlotte. It claimed the lives of two students, injured 4, and forever changed that university's community. And on this anniversary, the university, as you see there, honored the memory of those impacted with a quiet wreath-laying ceremony at the Kennedy Building, where that tragedy unfolded. Now, we had a reporter there, Richard Devane, to cover this morning. He saw him on midday. But yeah, it brings back memories of that day. Carlene, you were covering. And I want to mention the 2 students that were killed, Riley Howe and Reed Parlier, 2 students that were hurt, 4 others injured. But Carlene, you were there. You were here.
I was.
That day when it happened. Can you walk me through what was taking place here in the newsroom?
It all kind of happened. It was so quick, but at the same time, we learned something big was happening on campus. And because we heard about the 9er alerts, which is the alert system that UNC Charlotte uses. And because Brad is also a part-time teacher at UNC Charlotte, if you don't know. So he kind of also gave us the heads up. And so we had every reporter, everybody tried to go out there and get, we knew something big was happening within our sources. Nate Morbido, of course, is very well sourced. We knew something big was happening, but it took a while for us to figure out exactly what went down. And it was a tough day. Yeah. I had just moved to Charlotte a couple months before that.
I was about to say, you were new.
I was relatively new to the city. Wow. So when that happened, it was just, I'm still learning the city itself. And then here I am in this, huge story trying to, get my bearings. And the days after it was nice. The community kind of gave each other grace. We were, it was nice to see. Everybody kind of just came together and supported one another because we needed it.
Yeah, I remember I just moved to Atlanta around that time.
Right.
I was within that first year or so, and again, Charlotte is a city that, especially North Charlotte, that's where UNC Charlotte's campus is very familiar. Growing up, we would come to that area because that's back in the day that was a popping area
Right.
of Charlotte. So
Right.
you hear about this tragedy and you're like, whoa. Like, what is going on?
It's also this was like the last day of the spring semester
Yeah,
for them. Like
yeah.
these students were about to go on summer. It was about to be almost graduations and
Yeah.
stuff. So it was just, you think about it, like they're college students, but they're kids.
Yeah, they're kids,
they're young. Remember how old you were when you were 19, 20, 21.
Looking forward to the next step in their
Yeah.
lives and their careers, moving forward, thinking about what's next.
Right.
So yeah, my heart, my prayers, thoughts go out to those impacted, the family, the friends, and everything.
Faculty, staff. I mean,
yeah, it's again, we want to take this day and we want to take this moment, and we talked about this before the show, to honor those students and remember those students.
Just the 49er community.
49er
Our
community.
hearts are out to you.
And so many people still remember that day.
Yep.
It was just 6 years ago, and I have to say this: we're just 2 weeks removed from the Florida State shooting.
Right.
And so it does hit a little closer to home. Yeah, because of that.
It's hard.
Yeah, it hits hard. So we will continue to remember and honor those lives that are lost. Again, you're looking at video from earlier from that quiet wreath laying ceremony. All right. So we want to switch gears now. We want to go to D.C. right now, where President Trump, happening live right now on Live Impact News, President Donald Trump is having a cabinet meeting. Let's take a listen in.
Last night, they are thrilled that America is back in business again and that the rest of Europe can get off of Russian energy and can enable their own economic growth with secure, reliable, affordable energy from the United States. Also witnessed the signing ceremony for a deal between two large American businesses to build a huge nuclear power plant in northeastern Poland, the first of this design built in Europe. It'll be the first of many. I spoke with many other nations over there. They want to buy more American gas. They want to get American technology. They want to have a partnership with us. And they shared the message I delivered to Europe in my keynote remarks is that unleashing energy is the way you make your society safer, more prosperous, more free, and that these sort of over-the-top climate alarmism doesn't do anything to help the environment of our world, but it does impoverish people, it does reduce the security of your nation, and it makes you weaker. I think that's a constant message many of us around this table have brought to Europe. We want our friends in Europe standing up again and leaning in. A lot great is happening under your leadership. We're unleashing consumer products that Americans wanted to buy that Biden was making illegal. I'll be in Georgia on Friday at Renai's manufacturing plant. Tankless natural gas water heaters. Incredibly popular product. They almost became illegal. The return of common sense is incredibly welcome across this country, across the world. And back to Elon, that extra thing, we're going to deliver all of this with less people, less money, less burden on the U.S. taxpayers. Not smaller departments and smaller services, better, more thoughtful services done more efficiently and smarter. The way you'd have to run a business. We've got to get our fiscal house in order, and you and the people around this table are making it happen. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be here.
Great job. Thank you very much. Please.
Yes, Mr. President, you are 100% correct. The border is 99.99% safe, under control. You have completely reversed the entire situation. In fact, the day before yesterday, I was down in El Paso, and those Border Patrol agents are so impacted by how you have changed things in a year. They have put up huge pictures that say, under the Biden administration, the mobs of people that were pushing through razor wire and trampling children, and the chaos and the violence that was happening at that same location, they have a picture there that says, this is what the Biden administration looks like, and this is what the Trump administration looks like. It's peaceful. People who do business between Mexico and America are coming through. They're doing it legally. They're following the law, and it's all because of what you've done and what you've empowered them to do. The recruitment for Border Patrol is through the roof. For ICE agents, they want to be a part of ICE because they recognize they actually get to do their job. I have the Coast Guard too. Coast Guard recruitment is up over 20% just in the last 60 days. Everybody wants to be a part of what the heritage is of this country. We've repositioned the entire Coast Guard fleet to focus on border and drug interdiction. As we've secured the border, the cartels have gone to the water and are going out in maritime waters to move their drugs into this country. The Coast Guard just in the last 2 months has taken into custody over 126 tons of cocaine, millions of doses of fentanyl. It's just amazing. And the aliens that they are deporting is incredible too. We've been working with all of them. The one thing that I want to point out is the fake news has been saying that Biden deported more people than you. And it's an absolute lie. And they're letting the Biden administration get away with manipulating and cooking the books. What they're counting for the Biden administration is every single person that came to that border that they processed and let into this country. They're allowing Biden to say that was a deportation, just by processing somebody and letting them come into the country. It's absolutely false. It's not true at all. You have deported over 250 known terrorists. You've deported thousands of foreign terrorist organization members and gang members, hundreds of thousands of people that were in this country illegally. We've collected $30 billion worth of tariffs through CBP, and we've also collected millions and millions, hundreds of millions of fines and penalties from people that have overstayed here in this country. So I just want to thank you. You've been a game changer. I want to thank Pete for his leadership at DOD and what they've done. I want to thank Marco for his diplomacy and getting us travel documents into these countries. Mexico has finally come to the table and now is going to take a lot more people that we're able to send back to that country. And the president of Mexico told me, sir, she turned around over 500,000 people in Mexico before they ever reached our border. We should be counting those as deportations because they never even made it to the border because she turned them around because you forced her to. So those are all people that never even came here because they got the message because you were so aggressive. So thank you for what you're doing. And every day we get to get up and do jobs that matter. And we appreciate
Tom
that.
Holm is doing a great job.
Oh, yeah, Tom's a great messenger for us. He just,
Great.
yeah, he's hardcore. Yeah,
Good job.
thank you.
He is hardcore.
Yeah, he is.
No question about it.
Kelly?
Mr. President, it's such an honor to serve in this administration, and on behalf of Main Street America, for our 34 million small businesses that make up 99% of all businesses in this great nation, I have to tell you, under your leadership, Main Street is open for business again. They're thriving and they're investing. And the data that we have at the Small Business Administration, the loans that we're putting out, a record 26,000 loans in your first 100 days means that 2,000 small businesses each week are receiving that funding, that investment in the future. Small businesses create 2 out of every 3 new jobs in this country, and we've already seen under your leadership the jobs economy is back, manufacturing jobs are back. We've seen a 38% increase in manufacturing loans. We put out 1,500 manufacturing loans in your first 100 days. We saw startups increase by 54%, and we saw businesses under 5 people increase by 95%. So your leadership on the economy matters to every region of this great nation. I'll tell you on the manufacturing front, I'm out on a national manufacturing tour. We've met with 250 manufacturers, and as I walk through the factory floors, they all ask me to thank you for fighting for their jobs, for these industries, and for the people who are creating things from pharmaceuticals to aerospace, to food, and all these essentials that this nation needs to be independent and strong. And to that end, I'm working with Congress. We'll be announcing tomorrow an upsizing of our manufacturing loans to make sure that that economic engine, because 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. It's incredible to walk through these factories that are really creating what you had in your first administration, the blue collar boom. It's now a new collar boom because it's the intersection of technology and manufacturing and what they can create for our war fighters, for our aerospace, for pharmaceuticals with less than 300 to 500 employees, sometimes 100 employees. I was at a factory in Georgia on Monday that is creating machines to help with the Iron Dome in Israel. Less than 50 employees. This is the engine of our economy. It's the heartbeat of our communities. It's the small businesses that helped elect you because they needed your economic agenda. So thank you, Mr. President. It's such an honor, and congratulations on an epic 100 days. I do have to thank Elon. I do want to note We just cut $3 billion in contracts because of DOJ's work. That's $3 billion that hardworking families that won't have to work until April 15th to pay for the wage fraud and abuse that we continue to find in this government on behalf of taxpayers. So again, thank you, Elon, as well.
Thank you. Great job, Kelly. Thank you very much. Elon, I love the double hat, by the way. He's the only one that can do that. Get away with it.
Well, Mr. President, you know, they say I wear a lot of hats. And as you can see, it's true. Even my hat has a hat. The American people voted for secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. And that's what they've gotten. A tremendous amount has been accomplished in the first 100 days. As everyone has said, it's more than has been accomplished in any administration before, ever, period. This portends very well for what will happen for the rest of the administration. I think this could be the greatest administration since the founding of the country.
Well, we all want to thank you for your help, too. You know, you really have sacrificed a lot. Been treated very unfairly.
Well, they do like to burn my cars, which is not great. You know, it could be better.
But you have been treated unfairly, but the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you, and this whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done, and we just want to thank you very much. And you know, you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his cars and his. You've done an incredible job. Let's think of this.
Yeah. 160 now. Yeah.
Yeah, 160.
Counting.
They said, oh, it could have been more. And a lot of stuff is being worked on. That number could be doubled and even tripled. A lot of things are being worked on that we don't count yet because it's not quite there. But you've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it very much, Elon. You know,
Thank you. And it's also an honor to work with your incredible cabinet. I just like to say thank you, everyone, for it's great to work with you.
Elsie?
President, congratulations on this truly historic first 100 days of your administration, really only made possible by the American people gave you. You've empowered all of us to deliver that mandate, and I'm grateful to have the privilege of leading the intelligence.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Right now, you're watching a cabinet meeting held by President Trump. They're talking about several different things here in this meeting, but we want to shift over to the Boston area because right now the Karen retrial is happening. It's been happening since this morning. So correct me if I'm wrong, Carlene, but a key prosecution witness, Jennifer McCabe, is on the witness stand right now.
Yes.
She was on the witness stand this morning.
Yesterday and this morning.
Okay.
She's kind of been on there all day, but it's a key witness in this trial.
Things are starting to heat up.
Yeah, they're getting a little spicy.
And it's day 7 of the trial. They have it, NBC 10 Boston. They have been keeping track of this along with us. Well, so let's listen in to what's happening right now on the witness stand.
Asking this 3 questions there.
Did you ask for that screenshot for your own personal use?
Yes.
And indeed, you do know what time it was that you looked out and saw Ryan Nagel's truck, because the screenshot told you that, correct?
The screenshot told me when Ryan Nagel pulled up. It didn't tell when I saw.
And what was the time when Ryan Nagel indicated that he pulled up?
I'd have to look at the screenshot.
2:23 a.m.? 12:23 a.m. sound right?
If you have it and that's what it says, absolutely.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm sure I did. Mary,
Okay.
take a look at that transcript, that column. Can you read that to yourself, the highlighted portion to yourself?
I'd like to be heard.
All right. Why don't you come to council? Why don't you come to council?
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovan. It looks like we're going into a sidebar right now with this trial. We want to shift back over to President Trump's cabinet meeting that's taking place live. Let's listen in.
Accountable to end the politicization, weaponization of the intelligence community. This past week, I sent 3 criminal referrals for illegal and unauthorized leaks to the media of classified intelligence for prosecution. We have 11 more that are under investigation. We've revoked, at your direction, 67 security clearances, and we continue the work of declassifying documents, as we have already around JFK assassination. We have more coming for the assassination of Bobby's father, Senator Kennedy, and MLK assassination. And we continue our extensive investigations around exposing the very serious issues we have related to election integrity, illegal abuses of FISA, Crossfire Hurricane, and others. Mr. President, under your leadership, we are working every day to bring about that transparency and accountability that the American people deserve. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, great job. Thank you very much. Lee?
Mr. President, at the Biden EPA, the Green New Deal was raging. At the Biden EPA, we saw billions of tax dollars burning. At the Biden EPA, we saw industries suffocate. But at the Trump EPA, the Green New Deal is dead. At the Trump EPA, we know that we can both protect the environment and grow the economy. At 13 pages of accomplishments from our first 100 days in here, and in it, part of it is 100 environmental accomplishments at the Trump EPA. You don't have to take my word for it. We released it to the media this morning. Every single day that President Trump is in this office, there will be a major environmental accomplishment. Every single day of the Trump administration. At the Trump EPA, we're also launching what is the largest deregulatory action in the history of the country. We're going to be giving our director of the OMB a whole lot of work because we inherited a big mess from the Biden EPA. And working with Elon and Doge, I've canceled now $22 billion worth of grants. Now today is a special day for many reasons. The biggest reason why we're here is that this is the 100th day of the most consequential, historic first 100 days in the history of this country. Today, while we're here, the House of Representatives is voting on Congressional Review Act bills, considering the EPA waivers that were given to California's tailpipe emissions, where California set their own standards. But there should be one national standard, and right now, Congress, on the House side, is going to be voting on that today. On a personal note, while this is a bit outside of the EPA jurisdiction, today is my last day serving in the United States Army. And I first signed up towards the end of the 90s. And I've had a chance to see a lot of national security teams over the course of the last 27 years. There has never been a national security team ever assembled that had the backs of our warriors like this national security team right now. And we have never had a president so deeply committed towards ending foreign wars instead of starting new ones. There's a reason, Mr. Vice President, why everyone is racing to join our Department of Defense. We have a Secretary of Defense who, with all due respect to our great president, would probably rather be swimming with Navy SEALs right now, be running somewhere in the Middle East with our service members. And from our Secretary of Defense to our Secretary of State, our Vice President, and more. I just want to say thank you as a veteran of our military for assembling what is the greatest national security team that I have ever seen in my 27 years associated with the United States Army.
Has Pete signed off on this retirement leave? Is that...
Welcome to the island.
Thank you for your service, Lee.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, you're doing a fantastic job. I appreciate it very much. So,
Well, Mr. President, I don't think I have ever worked so hard to try to fire myself. We're certainly making great strides in that. We've reduced the folks over at the Department of Education by about 50% now through our RIF program. And so we've closed a lot of the district offices, consolidated, so there are a lot fewer people working a lot more efficiently in the Department of Education. The commissioners of education in every state, and I was at a meeting with them not too long ago for not only our states but our territories. They are thrilled with the opportunity now to be able to have more control over the education in their states, to get rid of a lot of the red tape and regulation that's kept them from doing what they're doing. So we're seeing, I think, great improvements. We'll see test scores, I believe. It'll take a bit for them to be able to go up, but I think now that they're going to have the opportunity to put in their own programs, we'll see that grow. At the same time, we've been focused on higher education for our universities. We've returned proper enforcement of Title IX protections to schools. We have stopped funding to Columbia, for instance, and some other schools for not only Title IX but Title VI infractions. And those are moving along. I think we've brought people to the table. They know that you're serious. You meant what you said. They're going to make changes. They're making their campuses safer again. Anti-Semitism was just out of control in many of our universities. And so some tried to, in fact, Harvard is sued, and they're saying that it's, First Amendment infraction. No, this is civil rights, safety on our campuses for our young students, who are there. And with Pam's help and the task force that we formed with HHS, with GSA, with other agencies, we're going to make sure that our campuses are safe. And so there's a lot of good work going on. I think one of the biggest things, you'll be very happy to hear this, Mr. Vogt, that we are putting back into place collecting on our student loans that have been...
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Right now, you're watching live as President Trump holds a cabinet meeting. Right there on your screen is Education Secretary Linda McMahon. All right, so we want to shift away from this. We want to go back to the Karen Reed trial where Jennifer McCabe, a key witness for the prosecution, is back on the stand. Let's listen in.
I mean, this was all happening while we were at my sister's house.
Right. Was it 12:15, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock?
Well, according to that paper, it would have had to
That's
been
not what I'm asking.
not according to the...
Do you have an independent recollection of about, if not down to the minute, about what time that was?
I could say I'd have to be... I wasn't looking at my watch that night, so it's very hard for me to give a time just off of my memory. I know what I've seen, but...
Okay.
It's hard.
You did see both Ryan Nagel's truck and Miss Reed's SUV in front of the house at the same time, correct?
I saw his lights in my peripheral vision on the left.
But the lights are attached to what?
The car, but it wasn't out front. Miss Reed's vehicle was out front.
Right. When I say in front of 34 Fairview, we're going to talk about the spacing in just a second. I just meant out in front of the house.
Yes, over to the side, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're indicating that, and I want to be clear about this, as you're looking out that storm door window, going from right to left, it was Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Then Higgins's Jeep, is that right?
His Jeep was in front of the mailbox.
Then behind that, was there a space? And then Mr. Nagel's truck, or was the truck right behind the Jeep?
That's what I can't tell you. I just remember seeing lights. I didn't look over and pay much attention to it. I was just quickly looking at the Miss Reed's car, and then I went back and sat down.
Do you recall testifying at a prior hearing that it was, your perception was Miss Reed's car, her SUV, the Jeep, a space, and then Mr. Nagel's truck from right to left?
I remember Mr. Nagel's truck over to the left in my peripheral vision. I can't give you an exact location.
But there's no question in your mind as you sit here that Brian Higgins' Jeep was between Ryan Nagel's truck and Miss Reed's SUV. You remember that very clearly, correct?
I know that this Miss Reed's vehicle was here, and there were lights in my peripheral vision over here.
Okay.
I wasn't, I just was looking quickly.
So let me ask the question again.
Okay.
Assuming that the lights are attached to something. Ryan Nagel's truck, we've already established that. What you're looking at, when you look out the storm door window, is Miss Reed's truck, or SUV rather. So just behind that is to the left. As you're looking at it, Mr. Higgins' Jeep, correct? And behind that, Mr. Nagel's truck. You remember the Jeep being between the truck and the SUV, correct?
I remember looking out the window. It was dark. I remember seeing lights over to the left. That is what I remember.
Where was the Jeep as it relates to the lights?
I'm assuming the Jeep was still parked at the mailbox.
You saw it there. I mean, it's a 5,000-pound Jeep, right?
It was dark. I wasn't studying outside. It was a quick thing I did. I looked, I saw it, I went back to the table.
Okay. And I'm asking for what the saw it part was. Let's just slow down on the saw it part.
Okay.
You looked, you saw Ryan Nagel's truck, then you saw Higgins' Jeep, then you saw Miss Reed's SUV, correct?
I saw Miss Reed's SUV parked straight out front, and in my peripheral vision, I saw lights that, yes, must have been attached to a truck, but I didn't study the lineup of cars. I'm sorry.
All right, so
Can I have one more question?
one more question.
Where was the Jeep? Was it in front of the SUV, behind Mr. Nagel's truck, or was it between the two of them? It's a simple question.
You're asking what I saw when I looked outside. I didn't. And I'm telling you exactly what I saw. It was dark. It was Karen's car there, and in my peripheral vision, I saw lights, and then I went back to the table.
Okay, that's the last question. We're going to break for lunch.
Very well.
All right, jurors, we'll take our lunch and recess. And if you can, you can follow out right behind the jurors and sit up here in 45 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Jurors, right this way.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It appears that the Karen Reed trial is going into recess right now. We want to shift back over to Washington, D.C., where a cabinet meeting is happening with the Trump administration. That is Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right there on your screen. Let's listen in.
And a soda. And they said, well, it's not supposed to be about nutrition. And she said to them, the name of the program is supplemental nutrition. It is about nutrition. And we should, we have 38% of our kids are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and we are paying at both ends. We're paying for the food-like substances that make them diabetic, and then we're being bankrupt. We're spending $1 trillion a year on metabolic dysfunction. It's existential and it's not sustainable. We have, I visited Arizona, West Virginia, Utah, and Indiana in the last 2 weeks, who have all applied for SNAP waivers. We're encouraging, thanks to Brooke Rollins' leadership, all of the states to apply for those waivers. I also visited Utah, which is the first state to ban supplemental fluoride. Florida yesterday passed a bill to ban supplemental fluoride. I'm confident Governor DeSantis is going to sign that. We are working, Lee Zeldin and I are working together to change the federal fluoride regulations, to change the recommendations, and we're looking at the science now. I want to point out that in August, the National Toxicity Program, which was an arm of the NIH, did a meta-review of all the science on fluoride and found that there's a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure and low IQ in children. So the more you get, the stupider you are. And we need smart kids in this country, and we need healthy kids, and thank you for your leadership. We're going to get there. We're reviewing the GRAS standards now we're revamping them to get 10,000 ingredients that are in our foods. The Europeans only have 400 ingredients. We have 10,000. There are chemicals we know nothing about, and we are going to stop that process, and then we're going to go back and look at these chemicals and make the companies either get rid of them or to label them. We've launched Operation Stork Speed, and we're going full speed ahead to make sure that we have good, high-quality milk for children. We have launched the autism study at your direction. By September, we'll have some of the first answers. Within 6 months of that, we will have definitive answers, not only for autism, but for the etiology of a whole range of autoimmune diseases that have become epidemic in our children. we have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration. And we have ended funding for gender mutilation surgeries and other kind of gender dysphoria practices. And thanks to Elon, we have saved $67 billion at our agency without compromising any of our critical programs. Mr. President, I want to thank you for your vision, for your leadership, for giving me the 100 busiest days of my life, and most exciting and most rewarding. And there's, over the next 100 days, we're going to do much, much more.
That's good. Thank you very much, Bobby. Very good, very important. Thank you. Doug, please.
Well, President Trump, on your first day in office, you wisely declared a national energy emergency. And this was essential because it was the signal that we're going to go 180 degrees from the disastrous and dangerous Biden policies that were based on a climate ideology that was the root cause of the inflation in this country. It was the root cause of wars abroad. It was the root cause of our manufacturing disappearing from our country. We can't have energy security. Without energy security, we can't have national security, and you understood that. But now with everything that's flowed from that, dozens of other EOs that you've done, America is back in the energy business. As Chris said, there's been a signal that's sent around the world. Capital is flowing, coming back in. The smart money is coming to this country. And now you've given us a chance to win the AI arms race against China. We know we're up against a formidable competitor. China opened up 94 gigawatts of coal in the last year. That's more than all of California and all of New York combined in the last year. We've had presidents in the past of the Biden administration that were running away, again, under this climate ideology. You've embraced baseload power in this country. I'll never forget standing in the East Room with you, surrounded by the coal miners around this country, where you said, hey, big, beautiful coal. As we work to try to identify the balance sheet of America, our earliest estimate is that the coal resources in America, just on public lands, could be worth $8 trillion with a T. That was all going to be taken off our balance sheet if we weren't going to touch it. But now we're back in the business. I was 1,800 feet underground in a coal mine in Alabama a couple weeks ago. They do metallurgical coal. Without metallurgical coal, we can't produce steel. This is a plant. This is a plant that would have been in a mining operation that would have been shut down under the Biden administration. What we're doing here, back in the business, we're doing leasing. We're leasing for oil and gas. We're leasing for timber with Brooke Rollins. We're leasing for grazing. We're leasing for critical minerals, which is key. And when we lease the public lands appropriately and by the law to do that, we're bringing in revenue. We're bringing in jobs. We're helping strengthen America. And so we're treating our natural resources like the American balance sheet they are. And America's resources, the 700 million acres of surface that's public, the 700 million of subsurface, the 2.5 drawer, all contain what we need to have self-sufficient supply chains. And so in this, we're focused deeply on critical minerals. The Biden administration put us in a real predicament right now. The whole trade team, the whole cabinet, Susie's jumping in, leadership across everybody, the National Energy Dominance Council. But of the top 20 critical and rare earth minerals that we need for defense, that we need for industry, China's controlling 85% of the refining for that. So we are running at warp speed 7 days a week to try to put ourselves back in business in that way. So, and I want to just close out by saying a couple other things. One is the border. Few people realize that 41% of the southern border is in the Department of Interior. And then we've got a few more percent that come with Brooke and with the Forest Service. But that's been a risk area. Part of the reason everyone was pouring into our country, Biden wasn't enforcing the border laws. They definitely weren't enforcing it on public lands. And so again, using tying two presidents that had a great propensity for action, Theodore Roosevelt in 1907 created what was called the Roosevelt Reservation, 60-foot strip that go from Texas all the way to the Pacific Ocean, because he was worried in some future state there might be smuggling. I don't think he was anticipating human smuggling and fentanyl trafficking, but that has been largely unused. He gave us the authority to transfer that, and so working with Christy and working with Pete, we've transferred that to the DoD. So transferring land from the other agencies like Interior to the Department of Defense, then as Pete said, they can do the detain and assist with the military. And having been down at the border multiple times in recent week, I can confirm everything Christy said. The enthusiasm, the morale of that group is exactly 100% opposite of when Christy and I were down there as governors. I had Border Patrol people say that they were multi-generational service in that law enforcement that said, my wife and I are telling our children never to go into this thing, to go into Border Patrol. People this time were saying, I got a 17-year-old. As soon as they turn 18-year-old, they're signing up. My wife is thrilled. They're going into law enforcement. They're so proud to be serving with you. Everybody I've met, whether it's in a coal mine or at the border, law enforcement, the one thing they say on those trips is, please thank President Trump from all of us, the change that you're making. And I want to say especially this became very dear when we last week renamed U.S. Wildlife Refuge in honor of Jocelyn Nungare. Jocelyn Nungare, of course, lost her life tragically to illegal Venezuelan gang members in this country in a horrific way. But her mother, Alexis, was at that ceremony. Her grandmother was there, and Jocelyn's great-grandmother was there. There are 3 other generations of that family were there. They all wanted to pass on their thank you to you too, and we've secured her name forever as a sanctuary, and really is saying that every child, every 12-year-old, every child in America should be safe in their own communities, and you've dedicated a beautiful piece on the coast in honor of her. So, President Trump, in your first term when I had a chance to work with you as governor, you were courageous. The thing that's empowering this amazing group of people around this table, and you've probably assembled the greatest cabinet ever, is that this time you're not just courageous, you're actually fearless. And it's your fearlessness to take on the issues that other presidents would not touch, whether it's the work that we're doing with successfully streamlining and right-sizing government, or whether it's taking on the issues at the border, or whether it's embracing the power we need to win the aliens race. You're fearlessly doing that, and that creates and just all of us can sprint because you're running ahead. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Doug, and you are doing a great job. And with Chris, that's a pretty much unbeatable combination after 10 years. So thank you both very much. Thank you, Doug. It's great. Marco?
Well, it's not easy to go last after all these reports that have come here. First of all, Mr. Mayor, so I better be good and I'll be short as well. A couple things, Mr. President. I think you deserve a lot of credit for 2 things. The first is assembling this great team of people. Some of whom I've known for a long time, others who I've gotten to know during this period of time, but putting together a team, not just of talented individuals, but that work well together. It's something never going to be reported on in the media or fully seen, but it happens every single day. For the most part, I interact with almost everyone around this table at some level, and because of Secretary Kennedy, I'm afraid to eat anything. So,
At least in front of him.
he said Tootsie Rolls are okay in moderation. But it's a great team. And here's the second, and I tell this to people all the time. This is incredibly rewarding service, and you hear it in everyone's voices. That traditionally in the past, and it's one of the problems we got in as a country, is presidents would say, okay, let's go do something, and then they would have to do a study, and then a study on the study, and then a long internal deliberative process, and by the time you got to it, it was too late, or somebody had forgotten it. In this administration, it's moving. You know the direction because you know why you were elected. The American people elected you very clearly, and basically it's measured, I used to say by days and weeks, now it's measured by hours and minutes, but action is happening. And that's what people want to see. And let me talk about foreign policy in particular, because I'm not sure this is fully appreciated. This president inherited 30 years of foreign policy that was built around what was good for the world. In essence, the decisions we made as a government in trade and foreign policy was basically, is it good for the world? Is it good for the global community? And under President Trump, we're making a foreign policy now that's, was it good for America? I was appointed by you and confirmed by the Senate to be the head of the United States Department of State. Not the World Department of State, not the Global Department of State, the United States Department of State. And what that means is our foreign policy is guided by 3 things. Does it make America stronger? Does it make America safer? And does it make America richer? If something doesn't do one of those three things, and hopefully all three of those things, we're not doing it. Now, we went out and hired a consulting firm to help us organize ourselves. Luckily, they were free. They're called the Department of Government Efficiency. And they helped us do a couple things. Number one is our foreign aid. We were funding some crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. You tell me, how does a puppet show in some country around the world make us stronger, safer, and more prosperous? So we got rid of puppet shows and a bunch of other things. I'm sure they were very good puppet shows. And I'm sure that a bunch of charities in the world can go pay for it, but the American taxpayer should not. We've also, by the way, Mr. President, under your direction, reorganized the Department of State. We had offices within offices within offices that didn't even know they existed themselves, not to mention the rest of them. And so we've begun to reorganize that as a way to be able to empower our embassies and our ambassadors and our regional bureaus to do what many of them signed up to do. And we have a great team of ambassadors you've appointed. They're coming online every single day. Very talented people that are involved. Something else we got out of the business of, wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We have these dossiers. We are going to be turning those over to these individuals.
Me or Elon? We can follow up with the media story.
Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. But just think about the Department of State of the United States had set up an office to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens to identify them as vectors of disinformation, when we know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency. And so that's what we're going to be in the business of doing. We're not going to have an office that does that. Beyond that, Mr. President, and this I'll move quickly because this has been a team effort, we have gone to countries all over the world and said, hey, you want good relations with the United States, you need to take back your people that are here illegally. And we've had historic cooperation. Beyond that, and I say this unapologetically, we are actively searching for other countries to take people from third countries. So we are actively, not just El Salvador, we are working with other countries to say, we want to send you some of the most despicable human beings to your countries. Will you do that as a favor to us? And the further away from America, the better, so they can't come back across the border. I'm not apologetic about it. We are doing that. The president was elected to keep America safe and to get rid of a bunch of perverts and pedophiles and child rapists out of our country. Here's something else we've done. We stopped giving student visas to people who are coming here to burn down our universities and take over libraries and harass people. Why are we giving student visas to people who are coming here to create disruption? And we pay the student visas of people that are coming here to do that. It's simple. If you're coming to America to start riots, we're not going to give you, we're going to take away your student visa. And by the way, every country in the world that I've traveled, 14 countries in 14 weeks, you know what they all say to me? Yes, that's what we would do too. So the only people who seem to disagree with us are a handful of federal judges and a bunch of crazy people who get paid to write and report. So anyway, we're getting rid of that. The last, but now here's some good news. You know, we're going to have the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Club Cup, and then we're going to have the Olympics. So we have to have a Consular Affairs Bureau. We have very good, talented people there, but we are going to infuse technology, again, working with our consultants, to be able to, millions of people are coming into this country for this. And but we've done it to improve customer service. So some of us who served in Congress recognize that about a year and a half ago, we had a meltdown under Biden. You couldn't get a passport. You got people calling, I have a cruise on Friday, my passport expires. In the month of March, we processed 2.78 million Americans, their passports. That is the historic, never in any, it's the largest single month processing of passports ever, and we think it's a good way to build the momentum to be able to do the visas. Two last points I want to make. We have a great team that you've built. I want to especially acknowledge Steve Woodcoff. This is a person that doesn't have to be doing what he's doing. He has a very good life in Miami, my hometown as well. He has worked incredibly hard, has done it without any agenda, and we need to acknowledge him. I want to acknowledge Mr. Boulos as well, who did something really great last week. They told us this war between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is an intractable. It can never happen. It will never happen. I sent Mr. Boulos, your envoy. A week later, I look on my schedule, the signing of a declaration of peace between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. We signed it at the State Department last week. We hope it will lead now to a lasting, permanent peace that we hope to invite them back to Washington to sign. So two great, and we have a lot of good people working on our teams as well, but these are two great people. Mike Waltz alluded to this earlier, and this is the last point. in the first 100 days of the 47th presidency, 47 wrongfully detained Americans have been returned to the United States, thanks to your leadership and the diplomacy that was exercised to make that happen. 47 for the 47th president in the first 100 days. And that's all credit to you, Mr. President. Thank you for the honor to be able to serve alongside you, for you, and alongside all these excellent people.
Thank you very much, Marco.
Well said.
Really great job. So, you know, I've been involved in a lot of groups of people over the years. Good groups, bad groups, all types of groups. But I have been involved in some incredible groups, but I've never been more proud and impressed, frankly. Impressed is maybe even more important. But I've never been more proud or impressed than I am with this group. This is an amazing group of people, and I hope some of those television cameras were blazing and it was on so people could watch this because, frankly, you know, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, this is an impressive group of people. I sat around being somewhat competitive. I said, well, let's see, who did the best job, who did the worst job? And I determined that everybody is like the same, and there was no worst job. Everybody was outstanding. Everybody did a job. You couldn't pick a winner. The only thing you can say is nobody did a bad job or even a fair job. You're outstanding. And so I want to just congratulate you all. This is really something. And, you know, we have a job to do. We've done a lot of work in this 100 days. We've established things that are going to start taking place in the next 100 days. I want to see what it's going to be like. I think we're going to have to do this in 100 days, Susie, and we're going to see some very big results from the things that we've done. But I just want to thank everybody. This is really very impressive, and I hope the people at home got to see some of it. Nobody's ever done public cabinet meetings. They were quiet for a reason, because they weren't impressive. And especially in the last administration, they were not impressive. But I just want to say that we're very proud of you, and I am in particular. Thank you all very much. Great job, and I think we're going to have some tremendous success for our country. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like a time to be asking questions. That was so impressive that to be taking questions. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be appropriate. I guess we probably have to take a couple because that was the purpose. But if you'd like to ask some, I think they should be very respectful questions at this point. This was an amazing meeting. And so if you'd like to ask a couple, if you'd like to pinpoint them to some of the secretaries, et cetera,
yes,
would be fine.
Yes. Secretary Rubio, can I ask you a question? You brought up El Salvador in your remarks. Have you been in touch with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia? Has a formal request from this administration been made?
Well, I would never tell you that. And you know who else I'll never tell? A judge. Because the conduct of our foreign policy belongs to the President of the United States and the executive branch, not some judge. So we will conduct foreign policy appropriately if we need to. But I'll never discuss it. And no one will ever make us discuss it because that's how foreign policy works.
Mr. President, yesterday you told ABC News, Mr. President, you told ABC News yesterday that you could get Abrego Garcia back if you wanted to. Do you think President Bukele would turn you down if you made that request?
I really don't know. I know that he's been a great friend of our country. He's gotten a lot less money than this would take from us if we were going to build these jails and do what he's doing. And they run a very professional operation. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. I really leave that to the lawyers, and I take my advice from Pam and everybody that is very much involved. They know the laws, and we follow the laws exactly.
Mr. President. Yeah, the transition, sir. You frequently took credit for the stock market highs. You said it was a reflection of how well you were doing in the polls, and then after you were elected, you said the stock market highs were a reflection of how well the transition's going and the American people's confidence in your incoming administration. Now, the stock market's not doing so well, and you're saying that's the Biden stock market, yet you are the president. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm not taking credit or discredit for the stock market. I'm just saying that we inherited a mess, both at the borders. You could look at every single one of the people here, and no matter who it is, they're doing better, and they are far superior to what took place for 4 years before us. When you look at prisoners being allowed to come into our country at will, just at will, people from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers, when you look at that what they've done to our country, and also having to do with finance. Look at what happened with inflation. We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but I would say in the history of our country, it ate away at people. And even though you saw a stock market going up somewhat, because in my case, I had the biggest stock market increase, 88% in the last term, in my last term. But I don't view the stock market as the end all. It's an indicator. But what the stock market really tells you, and when you look at the stock market in this case, is it says how bad a situation we inherited. I took place, this was a quarter that we looked at today, and we took all of us together. We came in on January 20th. So this is Biden. And you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden, because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis. But we're turning it around. It's a big ship to turn around, and we're going to have the greatest country financially in the history of the world, I believe. I think we're going to do things and we had to do it. We reset the table. We were being ripped off by every single country, with just about without exception. I'd have to really think hard for who hasn't taken advantage. And I don't even blame those countries. I blame the person that was sitting right here where I am for allowing it to happen, where our country was ripped off on trade, hundreds of billions of dollars, and now we're doing better than we've done in a long time. You know, we were losing $4 to $5 to even $6 billion a day on trade with Biden. And now we have it down to a very manageable number, and the tariffs, for the most part, haven't even kicked in yet. So that's the way. Stock markets, to me, are an indication, but the big indication is what's happening, and the people around the table know what's happening. Yeah.
The Ukraine minerals deal is set to be signed in 24 hours or
What's
so.
it?
Is it true that the Ukraine minerals deal is about to be signed in the next 24 hours or so? There's some reports saying that. And if it's true, has the deal changed at all from the last time we heard about it?
Well, I'll ask Scott to answer the question because he's responsible for it.
Yeah, our side's ready to sign. Ukrainians decided last night to make some last-minute changes. We're sure that they will reconsider that, and we are ready to sign this afternoon if they are.
Can you talk about those last-minute changes? What was removed or put in its place?
Nothing's been removed. It's the same agreement that we agreed to on the weekend. No changes on our side.
Just to put that in perspective, though, when I came here, I said, how much money have we given to Ukraine? The real number is about $350 billion. It's unthinkable. And we had no security, we had no nothing. We were just pouring money there, unsecured money, putting it in banks, and anybody could have taken it out. You know, anybody over there, it was their decision. I've never seen anything like it. Europe, on the other hand, which is obviously that whole situation is much more important to Europe because we have an ocean in between. But Europe gave about $100 billion. It's a lot of money. It's a big sacrifice they made also. But they gave much less than we did. And their money is secured, totally secured, by deposits in banks. The deposits are largely Russian deposits. That's what Europe did, but their money is secured. So they gave $100 billion totally secured. We gave money like it's throwing it out the window. And it was done by Biden, and this is Biden's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm trying to get out. And more than the money, they're losing about 5,000 young Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week, mostly. There's some people also being killed in towns where missiles should not have been shot, small cities and towns. But we are trying to save the lives of about 5,000 young, mostly soldiers, that are losing their lives a week. I see satellite photos, probably off one of his satellites, come to think of it. But I see satellite photos every week of fields with arms and heads and legs scattered all over. It's a violent, violent, horrible situation. And more important than the money, I want to save the lives of people from other countries that are dying so stupidly, so needlessly, and they're dying. But I said, what are we doing? How did we get into this war? It would have never happened if I were president. Everybody knows, and it didn't happen for 4 years. Wasn't even thought of. I discussed it with President Putin a lot. Ukraine, it was the apple of his eye, but there was no way he was going to do anything. Zero chance. And I said, you know, we feel foolish. The Europeans are putting up money. It's totally secure. They get the money back. We're putting up much more money. We have absolutely nothing. And I didn't want to make a complicated deal. I didn't want to make a deal that couldn't be made because Ukraine doesn't have very much money. They're going through a very bad period of time. It's been brutal. But I felt very foolish being a judge. So I said, well, we want something for our efforts beyond what you would think would be acceptable. And we said rare earth. They have very good rare earth. As you know, we're looking for rare earth all the time. Rare earth is called rare for a reason. And they have a lot. And we made a deal where our money is secure, where we can start digging and doing what we have to do. It's also good for them because you'll have an American presence at the site, Chris. And the American presence will, I think, keep a lot of bad actors out of the country, or certainly out of the area where we're doing the digging. So we made a deal, and I assume they're going to honor the deal. And I put Scott in charge, and Scott's done it beautifully, but we haven't really seen the fruits of that deal yet. I suspect we will. I suspect we will.
Mr. President, progress. You had set a 90-day deadline through an executive order for Secretaries Hegseth and Noem to review whether to recommend to you whether to invoke the Insurrection Act to send troops to the southern border. Is that something you're still considering?
Well, I'm talking to them, and it's not hard and fast, but I'm talking to them, and I will tell you that the border is the most secure it's ever been. We have never had anything like it. And when you said, Christy, before, it's 99.999, and I guess that means one person maybe, or two people. It's actually turned out to be 3 people came across the border versus hundreds of thousands of people under Biden. And we're talking about people coming, look, people, they have souls, they have hearts, many of them are good, but we have a country that's under siege. We have a country that really is I think it's under attack. In many ways, worse than under attack, because there are no uniforms. You don't know who the attacker is, so you really don't. It's not like you're fighting an army. You're fighting people, you don't even know who they are. But 11,888 murderers, many of them murdered far more than one person, are roaming. Now, some of them have already been caught. A lot of them have already been caught and taken out. But we're being impeded by judges from doing our job. And hopefully that situation is going to be solved, because I think nobody wants to have murderers and people from jail, and I mean for serious, serious crime. I remember the Biden people used to say, no, these are aliens that came into our country and they don't commit crime. I said, they don't commit crime, they commit worse crime. They make our criminals. Some of these people that they've allowed in through open border policies, the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You can look at some of these people and you say, this is not going to end well. But the people that they've allowed into our country are making our criminals look like the nicest people on earth. I will tell you, these are serious criminals. These are violent criminals. These are people that would kill you and wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep, and they wake up the next morning and they don't even remember it. This is a rough, tough group of people, and we've got to get them out of our country. And the law says, I believe, I hope, and I think Pam will be very successful in proving it, but we've run into, I would call them rogue judges. Somebody could criticize me for that. These are rogue judges. These are radical left, generally radical left, horrible judges. And we didn't lose all of these people. You know, we've lost a lot of people to death and to rape, all sorts of crimes committed by the people that poured into our country. And they came in totally unimpeded. Just come on in. And you see it every night. You'd see thousands and tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. We have no idea who they are. And to this day, we're looking for people. We have no idea. We hear that we have terrorists in our country that are so bad, they couldn't stay in any other country, but we're getting them out. And the group between Pete and Christy and Tom Holman and everybody working together, people that you would least suspect are reporting them, getting it, and the public is reporting them. The public is seeing. The public is calling and they're saying, you know, I live in a house and next to me moved in a group of people and they are very violent. and would go and would find out and would say, yeah, you're right, they were really violent, and we have information. So I just think it's incredible what's taken place. But we right now have a very, very secure border. Right now we have the most secure border in the history of our country. So your question to me.
Mr. President, as Prime Minister of Canada ran against, not only against the Conservatives, but also against you. Yesterday, yesterday he spoke about American betrayal. Are you interested in rebuilding relations with Canada, and if so, how?
No, well, I think we're going to have a great relationship. He could make a deal. You know, he was running for office. They both hated Trump, and it was the one that hated Trump, I think, the least that won. I actually think the conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy. But no, I spoke to him yesterday. He couldn't have been nicer, and I congratulated him. You know, it was a very mixed signal because it's almost even, which makes it very complicated for the country. It's a pretty tight race, but he's a very nice gentleman, and he's going to come to the White House very shortly, within the next week or less.
Mr. President, when will you speak to President Xi of China?
That'll happen. I mean, look, right now, and I told you before, they're having tremendous difficulty because their factories are not doing business. They made $1 trillion with Biden, $1 trillion, even $1.1 trillion with Biden selling us stuff. Much of it we don't need. You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. But we're not talking about something that we have to go out of our way. They have ships that are loaded up with stuff, much of which, not all of it, but much of which we don't need. And we have to make a fair deal. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, but China, I would say, is the leading one, the leading candidate for the chief ripper offer. There has never been a country that's been ripped off more than the United States of America under some of the dumbest leadership, and it usually starts with the president. And you can go back, and I'm not just talking about Biden. It's been the worst. I mean, the trade deficits and everything else, he's been the worst. But he had no idea what he was doing. And I think somebody ought to look at the auto pen to find out who was really running this country, because it wasn't Biden. Because nobody could agree to what he agreed to. I mean, he put our country at risk, at tremendous risk, and fiscal risk, financial risk. So I think we have it very much. I really believe that the next 100 days is going to be even better than this. Look, I read an editorial yesterday from a group that normally wouldn't write that this is the most consequential presidency in history, in the history of our country. This is not a particular group that would write that kind of an editorial, but they see what we're doing and what we had to do. And I believe if this group, not just me, if this group wasn't here, I think our country was going to be in, if it was lucky, just serious trouble, but a lot worse than that. I think our country could have been a total disaster. Bad things were happening with our country, and we've stemmed the tide, we've turned it around, but we're going to really turn it around over the next 3 years, 3.5 years, we're going to turn it around, and then hopefully it'll be in such great shape. That's my goal, to put it in such great condition that it can't be destroyed.
Do you
You mentioned this last night in your speech in Macomb, but we're facing an unprecedented situation where there's a lot of abuses of nationwide injunctions, sort of seemingly designed to curtail your power, specifically when it comes to deporting these illegal, violent aliens that came in under the previous administration. Have you spoken to your team about ways to mitigate this and continue to deliver for the American people on that aspect?
There are ways to mitigate it, and there's some very strong ways. There's one way that's been used by 3 very highly respected presidents, but we hope we don't have to go that route. But there is one way that has been used very successfully by 3 presidents, all highly respected. And hopefully we don't have to go that way, but there are ways of mitigating that. I want to thank you all very much. I thought this was an incredible cabinet meeting. I think there's probably has never been a cabinet meeting like this, and you've never seen it on tape, that I can tell you. And I want to just congratulate everybody at the table, but we have a lot of work to do, but we're off to a great start. Thank you very much,
Do
everybody.
you enjoy, Mr. President, leaving the White House back second time?
Thank you,
How's your life here?
Thank you, everybody.
I'm working hard. I like my life. I'm working hard, but I like it because we're doing a lot of good for a lot of people. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Right there is a cabinet meeting that just wrapped up with President Trump, again, with his cabinet. He just finished answering questions from everything from the economy to deportations. So a lot covered within that cabinet meeting, also reflecting on his first 100 days in office, which was marked yesterday. All right, so we want to shift gears. We want to bring you back home. This is a live look over Uptown. It is a beautiful day. It's been a beautiful week so far. Looks like that trend is going to continue. It's warm outside. Somebody said, oh, it was Jeb, who was in here right now, Jeb Goldman, said he's going to take a run on the hottest day of the week.
Hottest day of the year.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Bring some water.
In the words of
Wear a hat.
Right. In the words of Brittany Van Voorhees, wear your sunscreen.
Wear your sunscreen.
Wear your sunscreen.
Right.
But look, nonetheless a beautiful day. Make sure you are wearing your sunscreen. You're hydrated.
Are you wearing your sunscreen? Are you staying hydrated?
Always. Look, this is a live look at Uptown. Beautiful day. Here's meteorologist Becca Birdsall with a full look at your forecast.
Good Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures have been on the incline since Sunday. Today we will likely peak with highs in the upper 80s, about anywhere from 9 to even 10 degrees warmer than what we hit for yesterday. You'll notice today we are peaking. Temperatures will go on the decline over the next couple of days, down into the middle 70s by next Sunday as we get our next cold front across the area. So weather impacts for today. Not only is it going to be warm, but it's also going to be feeling a little bit humid and sticky outside. Many of us will be feeling like close to 90 degrees. There is going to be a chance for a few showers and thunderstorms, especially along and north of the I-40 corridor, especially with that added moisture. This weekend, though, will likely provide the best rain chances across the metro, at least for the first half. Highs today, again, upper 80s across the metro and middle 70s even for the high country. That is anywhere from 15 to 12 to 10 degrees warmer than the normal high for this time of year. And again, we'll carry those unseasonably warm conditions from now, likely all the way through Saturday. UV index for today will once again creep up to a 9. That is very high. Burn time of about 20 minutes. So if you're headed off to the Knights game, match starts at 6:35. You'll want that ball cap and certainly some sunglasses and SPF at 6 p.m. We're going to be at 85 degrees. By the time the game ends, down into the middle 70s, only an isolated chance for a shower here in the metro. Again, the main coverage for storms today will be up towards the mountains and foothills. This is all thanks to that high pressure system sitting off the Carolina coast. That is just driving in the warm air across the southeast and is also driving in all of that tropical moisture. And out ahead of this, we also have an advancing cold front, which is going to provide daily storm chances from today all the way through this weekend. Like I mentioned, the dew points for today are going to make it feel a little bit humid and uncomfortable out there. Dew point today is going to be at 65 degrees. It will start to go down into the lower 70s over the next couple of days, but do expect it to continue to feel sticky out there as we continue those temperatures in the 80s. You'll notice next advancing cold front starts to come through. That's going to bring rounds and rounds of rain over the next couple of days. Main coverage going to be on Saturday, but this particular model has us drying off by Sunday thanks to this cold front. But another model keeps the cold front around, makes it stall over the next couple of days, and that would allow for better rain chances for Sunday as well. Some lingering showers across the area. Of course, it is a busy weekend in the Charlotte metro. We've got the Charlotte Knights, we've got Love and Life Music Festival, Kendrick Lamar, and of course the Fort Mill Strawberry Festival, which is why this is going to be an impactful weekend. Highs for Saturday will be near 80 degrees. By Sunday, we'll cool down into the middle 70s. We do need the rainfall, even though it does come at an unfortunate time. So far this month, with it being the last day of April, picked up 2.5 inches with a deficit about 1 1/3. And each month of this year so far has featured below average precipitation totals with a departure close to around 4 inches. So we need the rainfall. And on this futurecast, you'll see showers and storms today along and north of I-40. Main coverage for tomorrow is going to impact the Piedmont as well, with briefly heavy downpours, some lightning, some thunder certainly possible, but severe weather is not expected. We'll do it all again for Thursday and into Friday as well. Temperatures over the coming days will remain in the middle 80s, again taking a dip by Sunday, especially as that cold front passes. So enjoy today. Most locations will stay dry, especially across the metro, but it is going to be very warm, even borderline hot in many locations. Down into middle 60s by tomorrow morning, with storm chances increasing for the week ahead.
And again, guys, this is a live look over uptown Charlotte. A warm day, but a nice day at that. Anytime the sun is out shining, it's a good day. So it's a good day. So look, enjoy the day. Make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you wear that sunscreen. You know, you do whatever you have to do to be comfortable outside. You said it's bark in the park?
Bark in the park for the Charlotte Knights.
Bark in the park. Ooh.
Greg and I and Turkey will be in attendance.
Shout out to Turkey.
Shout out to Turkey.
Shout out to Turkey.
He's my wiener dog, everybody. In case you're wondering, I'm not bringing a turkey to bark in the park. It's a dog.
Every time you bring up Turkey, I think about Turkey as a human. We did that.
we did the AI thing.
So
he was cute.
I look at Turkey through that lens. So I need to go back to him being a dog. But so shout out to Turkey. Shout out to everybody going to the game tonight. All right, so we're going to stick here at home. So it was a new chapter for Rock Hill High School. The Bearcats. Am I right? The Bearcats. They are turning a new chapter. They have a new head football coach. And not just a new head football coach, a guy who was very familiar with the program, Leon Boulware. Now, he's a graduate, former player at Rock Hill High School. He brings with him 18 years of coaching experience and also the member of the 2006 state championship football team. And we had the ceremony introducing Coach Boulware. There's a lot of excitement wrapped around him coming back to the school, to the program. He expressed his gratitude. His family was there, the community was there, his players were there. So here's a look at that press conference from this morning inside the gymnasium at Rock Hill High School.
All right, good morning. I want to first start off by thanking Mr. Oswald, Coach Rollins, Coach Duncan, and the search committee for going through this process. I'm looking forward to being here, and I want to also thank my family, my wife and my kids, for all the support that they always offer and give. This is long nights, traveling a lot, and they've always been there with me. I want to start off by saying it's truly an honor to be standing in front of you today as the new head football coach here at Rock Hill High School. This place, this home means a lot to me. I'm proud to be a product of Rock Hill, South Carolina. I played here at District 3 Stadium. I walked these hallways, and I wore those Bearcat jerseys. This school has shaped me and helped me become the person that I am today. And I want to make sure that we continue to make everybody in this community proud of being a Bearcat. This community taught us about hard work, pride, showing up for one another, and now the incredible privilege of passing on the legacy to the next generation of athletes. I also want to say that I was fortunate enough to meet my wife here at Rock Hill High School. And so with that piece of it, you have the full family that's invested in the program here. To the players, I'm here to coach you, challenge you, and believe me, make sure you understand that we're going to outwork all of our opponents. One of my favorite sayings is that I'm going to outwork every coach, and I challenge you to outwork every player. With heart, toughness, and ability and the will to put in the work. To our parents, staff, and community, Thank you for entrusting in me. I know what this program means to everyone because it means the same thing to me. Together, we'll make Rock Hill football continue to be something we all can be proud of. With that said, I'm proud to be here, and go Bearcats.
Thank you, Coach. We're so happy to have you. A couple questions for you would be great. If you guys want to throw anything out, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I'm Shane Connick from the Charlotte Observer and Rock Hill Herald.
Yes, sir.
Great to see you. So, coming back here to Football City, USA, you see the success that these programs have. Just to bring it back here to the Bearcats, how special is it just to be back in Rock Hill?
I can't explain it right now. It's very special. To know that Rock Hill City, USA is one of the more important pieces in South Carolina when it comes to football, and to be able to be a product of it and play in it, and then come now to lead our guys to be successful is unreal right now.
What do you say to the players when you met with them earlier?
Really, when I talked to the players this morning, the biggest message was that we got to have some confidence, we got to show some pride, and we're going to bring back that tradition. The tradition of when we step on the field, everybody's going to understand that Rock Hill City play and compete in football.
Your mom's here in the crowd. What's it really mean to be in front of?
Yes, I have my mother here, my mother-in-law here as well. I have some former coaches, players, mentors. So it means a lot. It means a lot for them to show up here and know that the support that they have always given. And I appreciate that. And I know that them being here shows a lot, and it shows our players that we got a lot of people that's going to have our back and our support as well.
Hey, Coach, quick question. Jeff Taylor with WCCB, congrats.
Thank you.
In terms of, you said outwork, what does that entail when you talk about community, classroom? That's off the field and on the field?
Yes, we want to develop the whole student athlete. So we're going to develop them, make sure that we're academically eligible. We have a lot of athletes in South Carolina and Rock Hill alone that can play at the next level. So we're going to push them in the classroom, we're going to push them on the field, and then we want to make sure.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We're cutting away from that news conference. We'll get back to that in just a moment. We want to take you now to a developing story, a little bit of breaking news right here. Here's aerial coverage from KFOR in Oklahoma City. They're seeing some severe flooding right there. That is a boat. Rescue crews just rescued, looks like a family and a dog from a situation. Let me read you what they have on their website right now. So it reads, as Oklahoma sees nearly record-breaking rainfall, some areas across the state may experience flooding. And more thunderstorms are forecasted Wednesday with a threat of severe weather, including hail and strong winds. The greatest risk is predicted for southern Oklahoma and northern Texas. Northern and central Oklahoma are getting more rain Wednesday, which may cause flooding. And again, you see there was some flooding, a rescue efforts, a family getting away. Thankfully, it looks like they are okay. Multiple counties across the state, including Oklahoma County, are under a flood advisory. Again, you're taking a look at a rescue there from some of that severe flooding that's happening there in that area. I see a family just got off the boat. When we saw this, we saw that boat speeding through that water. See a fire rescue crew right there. So thankfully, it looks like they were able to get out okay. But again, severe flooding in Oklahoma City, across that area. Heavy rains, more rain from what I'm reading on the way. So that concern still stands. You see that rescue boat. They dropped out that family. Now they're back out in the water, speeding off. Can't tell you where they're going exactly.
Potentially getting more. I mean, before we popped it up here on Live Impact News, I saw they were getting a family out of that house, but there was a couple other houses around there, so maybe there's more people kind of trapped. I mean, you see, that water is all the way up to that guardrail.
Yeah, I mean
that's high.
That is a scary situation. As somebody who's covered flooding, I remember. Gosh, it might have been over 10 years ago, the historic 1,000-year flood, as they called it, in South Carolina.
Sure. Yep.
This stuff can be very dangerous.
Yeah,
it could be very dangerous. And so getting people out of their house as quickly as possible
Yep.
is a huge priority for first responders, and so that it looks like that's what they're doing. It looks like they're at another house right now, another residence. But you can see that aerial shot. You see that how vast that
And
that
the
water
just
is.
goes to one. I mean, it all
Like it
just
dumps
kind of
down,
dumps
yeah.
down.
And it's like in different parts of this area where you see
Yep.
that water sort of just it looks like a lake. It looks like a
Yep.
swamp, how it's set up, but it's just the severe flooding from that heavy rain. And
Especially
again,
considering somewhere so flat like Oklahoma. Like you
Yeah.
think of it as so flat,
right. You just don't think about
you know.
this happening, but
That much rain and even the littlest of dips can cause big
yeah,
damage.
It can cause a serious situation, a safety risk, obviously. But again, Oklahoma is seeing nearly record-breaking rainfall. Areas experiencing flooding, like you see right here. This is a live look over Oklahoma City. We saw first responders rescuing a family. Looks
you
like
can see that looks like a bus that's like, or is that a
either
house?
it might be a.
Look how high this water is on these trees.
It's the water's so high at this point it's hard to tell what,
Is it a tree? If it's a bush?
Right.
You know, we don't.
or even if it's a home in some cases.
Right.
'Cause from a distance in the aerial view, it looks like looks like a bus, but
Yeah.
it could be. Okay, there goes that rescue crew. And it looks like they rescued 2 more people because those first 2 seats were empty.
Okay.
So
So they're fishing people out.
they're fishing people out, yeah. And so they're making sure people get the safety. You see that boat just going across that water there, getting people to dry land.
We know flooding too well here.
Yeah, and that 1,000 and look, that water, if you don't know, obviously is a risk because of how high it is and the potential of drowning, but that water is not sanitary at all because it's stewing in everything as far as sewage and just other waste that might be around. And I could tell you a story. I remember covering the 1,000-year flood, and I was in Florence County. We were in the rural areas of Florence County, and I hopped on the boat to go. It was a family that had to evacuate the flooding, and they took me on the boat just to see their house. And a splash of water got on my hand, and so I wiped it off, not thinking too much about it, thinking like, okay, I gotta, I don't want to put it on my face. I want to put some hand sanitizer on. Within a matter of 30 minutes, my skin broke out.
Yep.
And so luckily the Red Cross was on site, and they were able to treat it with something like Neosporin, and the breakout, went away. But this shows you how, in other ways, it could be dangerous with this water. Not just, the risk of drowning, but, you could break out, you can get infected. You just never know. And so again, we were looking at a live look. This is an aerial shot of Oklahoma City, where Oklahoma itself seeing some record-breaking rainfall. See a lot of water there.
Much water.
A lot of water there on the ground. First responders are scattered throughout this area, rescuing people, making sure, and I'm sure making sure people don't even attempt to cross the area. Some people might have a big truck and they may think they could cross this stuff. No, this is
It's by boat only.
By boat only. Yeah, you don't want to get caught up in any of this. So this is what we're looking at right now, as is. News chopper is going around the area surveying the damage. You can see where that flooding has hit certain parts, and again, it's because we're obviously unfamiliar with this area. We're thousands of miles away. We're in North Carolina, but it looks like a swamp. It looks like a river.
Like a swamp. It looks like the Everglades.
Right. It does.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's not.
Fairly certain it's not the Everglades.
But it just shows you how much
so quick too.
Yeah, and it shows you how impacted they are by the heavy rains. More is forecasted, as from what I'm reading. More is forecasted. So folks there, if you have loved ones in the area, if you can, just call them.
Right.
I'm sure there are a lot of folks that come to Charlotte transient, come from different areas. But if you have any loved ones, friends in that area, make sure you check on them, make sure they are okay. So yeah, this is what we are looking at right now. This is what we're covering. Do we want to get back to the press conference? Do we want to stick on this? What do you want to do, Carlene?
We can go back to the press conference.
Okay, so yeah, we'll continue to keep an eye on, again, this severe flooding in Oklahoma City. But for now, we want to get back to that press conference that we were running right before we got to this. Let me set it up for you. Rock Hill High School hired a new head football coach. They introduced him today. He is a former Bearcat, 18 years of coaching experience, and now will lead on the charge and start a new chapter for that program.
How excited are you about this challenge?
How excited I am, I can't explain it. I can tell you right now, the first thing I asked Coach Rollins this morning is, can I get the keys to get started? That's how excited I am. I'm ready to get rolling and know that our kids are coming first. So we're ready to get the process started so we can get the spring practice come Monday morning or Monday afternoon.
Talk to the fan base real quick. What do you need from them?
Support. We want the fan base to show up, get out to the games. We're going to do some things here this spring to get the community back involved and get them excited about Bearcat football. We're going to challenge the community to come out and put those shirts on. We're going to get out in the community as well as players and coaches, and we're going to make sure that we're working for our community and not just having our community work for us.
You guys got anything else?
Coach, what was the process like going through to get to this point, the interview process? Obviously, you spent quite a few years at Louisville, with recently Lugov, Belgium, and took this jump to come back to Rock Hill. What was that process like? Once you saw the opening here, it was an unexpected opening, kind of late in the process, but to get to where we are today.
To be honest with you, when it first opened, it was an exciting moment, but at the same time, going through the process was stressful, knowing that you want to be back home. And I say this, the house we had the things rolling at Lugov, Belgium, but at the same time, an opportunity to come home, you can't let that slip away. And so that process was very important to me, as well as trying not to stress my wife out about it. But it was stressful at the moment, at that time, in terms of knowing where you want to be and where you want to have it in your career. So when I told the interview process, there's no place better than Rock Hill High.
How did you feel after your first interview? Did you feel like you were in a good position to be the head coach, or obviously there was other candidates they were talking to?
When I walked in, I told my wife this when I got in the car. It was walking off campus. It was like, man, this is it. This is where I need to be. And so I put all my efforts into that first interview, and then getting a phone call for a second interview. All my efforts were back into that piece of it because I'll be honest, I had chills when I walked on campus. Just knowing that I was in this environment. My interview process is right in a building, right upstairs, where I was able to meet my wife as well. And so that piece of it was very important, but at the same time, trying not to stress out about it, but at the same time knowing that I was going to go and attack that goal.
Expectations for this season. Obviously, you see with state championships up there, that's the expectation at Rock Hill, but what are you looking forward to from your team for the 2020 title?
We're going to compete in every football game. We're going to challenge everybody. We're going to upset a lot of people. And to be honest with you, if anybody follows my track record, they know they're going to have to show up and play football because we're going to have our guys ready to go, ready to compete every Friday night.
You may have heard about the city's 24.
And that was a press conference from this morning. Rock Hill High School's new head football coach, Leon Boulware. He is set to start this year. So exciting new chapter for the program. Let's turn our attention now to a press conference that is happening live. Let me make sure I got the most updated information for you guys. All right, so this is Senator Schiff of California and gun safety groups announcing the reintroduction of the assault weapons ban. Now, right behind him, to your left, what we're looking at to your left is Representative Lucy McBath out of Georgia. Now, back in 2012, her son Jordan Davis was shot and killed following an argument at a gas station in Florida about loud music. I remember covering her campaign in Georgia. She's in the Metro Atlanta area. She has been on the front lines when it comes to talking about gun rights and making sure people are safe and bans and certain restrictions put in place. So that's been a big platform for her. But again, that press conference is happening now. Let's listen in.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. I want to also thank my colleagues that are working so hard and diligently to reintroduce this assault weapons ban, and we're going to keep fighting until we get it passed and signed back into law. Senator Schiff, my partner in California, Murphy, and Blumenthal, Representative McBath, thank you for your passion, for your commitment, and a big thank you to all the gun safety advocates and survivors that are here, bringing your stories to the halls of Congress, trying to appeal to the hearts and the minds of our Republican colleagues. Senator Blumenthal, I'll tell you why I've been committed since day one in the Senate. It's because of my background in the state of California, which, like Connecticut, has an assault weapons ban. It was the first in the nation decades ago, as you heard from Senator Schiff. And the numbers don't lie. The assault weapon ban works. Fatalities are down because of it. Lives have been saved. The number of incidents have been reduced. But as you pointed out, state laws stop at the state line. And as long as it's easy for someone in California to leave the state and bring back an assault weapon, or somebody from a neighboring state to come to California with an assault weapon, we're still at risk. And so we need a national ban, as we had once upon a time under the leadership of our predecessor, Senator Feinstein. We're at a point where each year a new town in America is added to a heartbreaking list. A list that includes Columbine, Newtown, Parkland, Uvalde, Monterey Park, and many, many more. Now, I stand here not just as a senator, but as a proud father of 3 school-aged children. It was troubling enough the first time one of my kids came home and I asked them, so how was school today? In California, we're not unfamiliar with fire drills and earthquake drills. But when a child comes home explaining to parents what an active shooter drill is at school, it should make us all mad that that's what we are living in the United States of America in the year 2025. It doesn't have to be this way. Let alone the thought that there's been shootings in schools elsewhere in America, and it could happen in your own community. If it can happen anywhere in America, it can happen anywhere in America. And when it happens, our Republican colleagues may offer their thoughts and prayers, but sadly, that's it. They'll offer thoughts and prayers and then sit back and do nothing. If they do anything, it's they actively block our efforts, like advancing an assault weapons ban and other common sense gun safety legislation. The country deserves better. And for those who hear the false argument that, oh, what about the Second Amendment? This is not about the Second Amendment. This is about saving lives. And it's not that complicated. As you've heard, the questions are actually very basic. Should military assault weapons be on the streets of our communities? No. Should weapons of war be found in our grocery stores, at concerts, in houses of worship? No. Are our Republican colleagues more loyal to the gun lobby or to the constituents that elected them to make their communities safer? So yes, today we are proudly and adamantly putting the assault weapons ban back on the table because we know these bans can save lives. We know they reduce the number of mass shootings. And we know that if we fail to act, more Americans, more children will die. So we're calling on our Republican colleagues, please have the backbone, have the courage to stand up and protect your constituents, protect our communities. Have the courage to put people over profits. And to all the advocates that are here, and especially those who are watching at home, please don't lose hope. Nearly 3 years ago, under Senator Murphy's leadership, we did pass the first gun safety legislation in 3 decades in America. And we know full well we did not do it alone. We did it because of your voices and your advocacy and your activism. You made a difference then, you're going to make a difference again. So as long as we're willing to fight for our children, we can't lose hope. There is hope. Call your members of Congress. Organize. Speak out. We can and we must win this fight. Thank you very much.
So I wish that Matt Holden's story didn't exist. Matt Holden was in a nearby classroom in Sandy Hook Elementary the morning of that shooting, a story that he can tell. But he remembers being told to be quiet, huddled in a corner by the janitor as the gunman was just steps away. He has chosen to take that trauma and demand change. So we're really glad here today to be joined by a number of courageous advocates, including young men and women like Matt, who have been survivors of these mass shootings. Matt is currently a student at George Washington University. He has been a very active member of the Newtown Action Alliance, and I'd like you to give him a big, warm welcome.
Thank you. I want to thank Senator Murphy for the introduction, and I want to thank everyone who came out today to show support for this cause. It really does mean so much to us as survivors. Well, like the Senator said, my name is Matt Holden. I'm a student at George Washington University, an advisory board member of the Newtown Action Alliance, and I'm also a survivor of the Sandy Hook school shooting. 12 years ago, when I was just 6 years old, I hid in my first grade classroom as a gunman armed with an AR-15 and high-capacity magazines, hunted and murdered 20 of my friends and classmates and 6 of our teachers in less than 5 minutes. I've spent every day since trying to live in a world that still allows those weapons of war to be sold legally to civilians. A world where kids like me are expected to survive, to grow up, and to somehow carry this trauma like it's normal. It is not normal. What happened in my school should have been the moment this nation changed, but it wasn't. So survivors like me had to become the change. Alongside the families from Newtown, Parkland, Uvalde, and other communities impacted by AR-15 shootings, I have walked the halls of Congress. We've shared our pain. We have begged lawmakers to put lives before politics. And in 2022, we helped pass the assault weapons ban through the House of Representatives. We did that. Survivors did that. Not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice. Today, I want to thank Senator Schiff, Blumenthal, Murphy, Padilla, and Representative McBath for reintroducing the assault weapons ban of 2025. This bill is the product of years of tireless organizing by people who lost everything and chose to turn their grief into action. It honors the legacy of Senator Dianne Feinstein, and it represents the strongest, most comprehensive legislation we have to get weapons of war off our streets. AR-15s do not belong in our homes or our schools. High-capacity magazines do not belong in our communities. These are not tools of self-defense. These are tools of mass murder. We know it. The gun industry knows it. Congress knows it. I'm 18 now. I go to class. I study for finals. I try to build a future for myself and my future family. But every time I hear about another school shooting, I'm back in that classroom in Sandy Hook. I'm back to being just 6 years old, hiding, listening, waiting to die. That memory doesn't fade. It just hardens into resolve. We don't need thoughts and prayers. We need courage. We need action. And we need every single member of Congress right now to decide if they're going to stand with us, the survivors, or stand with the industry that arms the next shooter. Pass this bill now, so that no other child has to grow up with a lifetime of trauma. Thank you.
I'm really proud to stand here with Matt of Connecticut and others of his classmates, his community that have experienced this trauma. I want to be a little bit graphic in introducing the next person who's going to speak with you. You know, Senator Schiff talked about, and so did Lucy McBath, these weapons of war. The reason why they're weapons of war is not just that they kill, but they kill more efficiently and speedily and rapidly. And when a bullet from an AR-15 or an assault weapon type gun hits a human body.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Servant. Right now, you're looking live at our nation's capital as leaders discuss assault weapons ban, reintroducing legislation. But we're going to slide over to our content partners at WFAA in Dallas, Texas. Right now, there is a tornado warning in place in that area, actually near the airport. They saw south of Dallas, Fort Worth area. So let's join in their coverage and let's take a listen into what's going on there.
This far southern part of Ellis County in about the next 10 minutes. Remember, the tornado warning is in effect until 1:45, so that's another 30 minutes that we have this tornado warning. It continues. Hail not really an issue with this, it's just the wind. So if you live in Carl's Corner, you should be going to your safe place right now. I know we have Morgan Young in the studio, I believe. Morgan, are you getting any reports right now from any of our reporters that are in the field or any emergency managers across the area? What are they telling you? What are you hearing, please?
We're just hearing, Pete, a lot about just heavy rain. And, we've been looking at our roadways. I believe we have a camera now that's looking at a roadway as they're traveling down. I'm trying to get some information about where they are. We have our traffic camera up here at I-35 at Continental. And you can see, at some of the shots that we saw like standing water. It's still slick out there, but we're not seeing kind of those high water levels in this area that we were just seeing. We've had multiple different groups asking that drivers kind of slow down in those areas where they're seeing high water. Here's I-20 at Trinity River. We can see some kind of slowdown there, and we're just kind of going through different roadways that we have across North Texas, and you can just see the cars just going really slowly as we see that our roadways are very slick. And I believe that Stacia is here. And Stacia, I know we are looking, I think you're following with me as well, looking at all these different shots. If we could get some information about the shot we're looking at right now, about the driver and where this person is.
Sure. Okay, absolutely. Let me go ahead and give you some information what we've got happening right now. So
this shot is near Keller. We just got that information. We're coming in close to Keller here.
Yeah, let me ask you, Morgan. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Do we have a shot? I want to focus in on the county storm. If you guys can hear me up in the control room, do we have anything that's down in Hill County or south of the Metroplex as opposed to Keller, if we could, please? I want to keep our focus on that. I just want to see that because right now the tornado threat that we're seeing there, it's increasing right now, and there's a larger area with winds with this storm, and it's on track for Carl's Corner. So this is one of our cameras, and you guys can talk to me in the control room. I have an earpiece in, if you will. But I just want to make sure that our focus is for Hill County specifically, given the tornado threat that we're seeing. Remember, we did have those two areas of circulation that merged, and it's those two areas of circulation merged that's kind of increased the concern that I have for this area just north of downtown Hillsborough. Now we're looking at a TxDOT camera right now. That is in, I believe that was in Milford. Yeah, that was in Milford. So again, here's the area of concern. I tell you, Jesse, it looks a little more broad, which is good news. It looks like the circulation isn't as intense or isn't as tight as it was just a moment ago, but I'm still seeing a pretty good. Circulation here on velocity. Remember, you can see up here on the legend. This is the velocity. So remember, the radar shoots out a beam, and as the velocity is picking up the winds that are going away from the radar, and this is showing the winds that are going toward the radar. So when you have those two that are going those different directions, right here where this one's going down, this one's going up. Right here is where we have our circulation. So Jesse, it's not as intense or not as significant as it was just a moment ago, but I'm still seeing some rotation there with this. Can we look at, Jesse, analyze that for a second and tell me about the gate-to-gate shear, if you will, because I know a moment ago we were looking at gate-to-gate shear of about 62 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you actually look at these velocity signatures, the one thing that's changed is we've kind of seen a broader view, or a broader look at these stronger winds. So those brighter pinks, the brighter greens, those have kind of expanded a little bit and gotten a little bit stronger near I-35W right there east of Mayfield. So that's going to be some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. That if you look where it says velocity, it says 63. Gate to gate shear, there's certainly rotation here, but I will tell you just from experience, and take every tornado warning seriously. So what I'm about to say, that doesn't mean, oh, you're in the clear. You really want to kind of see these things a little bit tighter together. And if you look kind of southwest of Carl's Corner, maybe we're seeing that there just to the west of I-35. But right now it is a little bit more broad, but those winds are certainly strong no matter what. So, like you said earlier, is it a tornado or very strong winds? Certainly damaging winds are possible either way.
Yeah, that's Jesse, I think that's a great point, because the way I'm looking at this is I don't care if it's a tornado or not. The winds are the winds, right? Whether they're rotating or whether they're straight. We have some 60 to 65 mile an hour winds here. So candidly, it just doesn't matter if it's a tornado or not, because that doesn't change the winds, the speed of the winds. So as we just looked at that gate to gate shear, we looked at the speeds, 60, 65 mile an hour winds. I think that goes without saying. That's going to cause some damage. Now, I know this area fairly well here in this southern part of Hill County, and right here where the split is, I mean, there's a lot of farmland, but there's certainly enough houses, and I don't know if we're still on regular TV, if we're back on just streaming, so we're still on regular TV. That's why we're on right now, is there's enough people that live in this area. It's not like this is out in the middle of nowhere out in West Texas. There's people that live here, so we have a responsibility to let them know. And again, we've got a really dynamic atmospheric setup this afternoon. We've all experienced the heavy rain, the thunderstorms, a little bit of wind, but now we have a tornado watch for this area, and now we have a tornado warning. So a little more circulation has tightened up. So this thing's going to cycle up, it's going to cycle down, it's going to weaken, it's going to strengthen. That's the nature of these systems, and it's started to tighten up just a little bit more now. It's crossed over Carl's Corner. I mean, the circulation is a bit weaker right now. I don't know that they're going to issue, so here's Ellis County. I don't know that they're going to issue a warning in Ellis County, but I still think there could be a tornado warning, but there certainly could still be some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds with this. So if they don't issue a tornado warning over here in Ellis County, remember that camera we showed you just a moment ago? Jennifer, can we go back to that Milford camera? Just a moment. That TxDOT camera, I know they're going to get it up for me here on TV here in just a second. Again, Milford is in Ellis County. So we'll get that camera up here in just a second. That is somewhere in downtown Dallas at Continental and 35. But as we go back to that Milford camera in just a second, I want you to know, now see, look at that. See how it's tightened up? Look at our velocity here. We've got an intense storm. So once again, whether this is rotating or not at the surface, we have the potential for some pretty significant damage with this thunderstorm. So we'll stay here on the radar. Let's put a track, because I want folks to know that you can see where it is right now. It's crossed over the split. It's now east of the split. shifted a little bit northeast of the 35 split here, 35E, 35W, down in Hill County, south of the Metroplex. This is not a system for the Metroplex. It is not moving into the Metroplex, but it is moving across this location down to the south. And as you can see the rotation, see all these different colors with the greens and the reds and the lighter ones, the pinks. That's it. So Jason's going to put a track on that. He's going to track that into southern Ellis. Now, if you live in southern Ellis County, and you don't have a tornado warning, you need to approach this system as though it could certainly have some damaging winds, and winds it could be 80, 90, maybe 100 mile an hour damaging winds with this system. That'll put it in Brandon at 127. It's 123 right now. Milford at 130, Mertens at 133, and in Frost at 141. Jason, zoom out for me just so I can give folks the perspective as to where they're looking. Let's zoom out just for a moment here, if we can. So there we are. Yep, here's Ellis County. Here's Hill County. There's Ellis County. This is Navarra County right here. So we're kind of right here where the three come together. We're just on the west side of that. But I mean, that is the far southern part. That is the far southern part of Ellis, and we're over here in this kind of this east side of Ellis County, just east of the 35E, 35W split, which is south of Dallas. Okay, so we have that Milford camera back up now. You guys can go ahead. I don't know, yeah. That Milford camera's not showing a whole lot. Milford's over in this area here, over in Ellis County. So as we look in here at this system and the rotation with this, I'm still seeing, Jesse, I'm still seeing some pretty good rotation with this. I know just a moment ago it kind of cycled down. It weakened for maybe a scan, which would be maybe 5 minutes or something like that, but it has re-intensified. The rotation is still, the circulation still somewhat broad. It's not as tight as it was earlier, but it's still tight enough that we could certainly have some issues with this. Don't you believe too?
Yeah, one thing that I'm really noticing back here, kind of analyzing a couple other products, if we put reflectivity on for just a moment, and if we can loop it slowly, I'd like to show folks how one of the things this thunderstorm is doing is becoming a little more outflow dominant. And that's what that means is, so to get these rotations where you have tornadoes, wall clouds, you need kind of that balance between strong inflow, strong outflow. So if we go back a couple of scans, we see how we had that hook earlier. Let's go back a couple scans here. So right here, for instance, you see how you kind of have that notch, right, near Carl's Corner. Right over here. We had a clearing there. And then if we go a few more scans forward, you kind of see this push. And if we keep going, we'll go right here. You see how it's becoming, this is becoming more outflow dominant, right? So what that means, and to what Pete was saying, you know, the rotation's still there, much more broad, but the winds coming from the backside of the storm have gotten a lot stronger. And so, you know, instead of maybe an imminent tornado, we might be looking at, 80 mile an hour wind gusts. Yeah. Matter of fact, they're canceled. The tornado warning is going to be canceled. Okay. It's become so broad that there's no circulation there. So the tornado warning is now canceled. I know technically it's still up here on the screen, but the tornado warning is canceled for Hill County. So that's certainly good news, and there it is. It's officially gone. So the tornado warning is now canceled for Hill County. And Morgan, I think, Morgan Young's here in the studio with me. Morgan, I think that'd be a good time for you. You've talked to some folks down in Hill County. Was it Hillsborough?
We were looking at the Hill County Emergency Management Office, actually, okay. Pete, and you just announced that this warning was canceled, so we're waiting for more information on that. Before that, just a few minutes ago, they were really just kind of mirroring what you've been hearing for the past few minutes, just speaking to different parts of Northeast Hill County, asking those residents to seek shelter. And at that point, 5 minutes ago, reporting again, no tornadoes had been reported to touch the ground. So as you can see there, that warning has been canceled for Hill County. We are, of course, keeping you up to date on how this is moving through our entire area, but again, the tornado warning has been lifted in Hill County. Okay. Well, I appreciate that update, Morgan. Yeah, we're going to hang with this for a few minutes because these things sometimes they have a life of their own, unfortunately, oftentimes. But are we still on television, Mark? Or are we on WFA Plus or both? We're on both. Okay, so let's, yeah, I want you to stay with us for just a few minutes because the tornado threat has ended. Hey, Jesse, can you and Jason get me that tornado watch? I kind of want to do a reset, and I'll do that officially, if you will, at 1:30. But what's that, Jennifer?
we'll have to queue up the.
Okay. Okay, we're just give me, if you will at home, just give me about another 2 minutes here. So let me just do a quick reset as to what's happening. It's at 1:27 in the afternoon. A big chunk of North Texas, not 100%, but most of North Texas is under a flood watch through tomorrow morning, okay? In addition to that, we also have a tornado watch. A tornado watch has been issued as well. And let's show that, Jason. That tornado watch does not include the Metroplex, okay? It's close. It's Kaufman County, it's Ellis County. That tornado watch goes until 8 o'clock tonight. It's not, we'll update the graphic. I mean, this is just coming in while we've been on live TV. So the tornado watch, I know this says 5, but it's until 8 p.m. tonight. It's East Texas, we can take those off. It's East Texas that the tornado watch is under, and it's also here east of the Metroplex and southeast of the Metroplex. So a tornado watch until 8 o'clock tonight. And you can see the people that are concerned here. It could potentially impact almost over 700,000 people. So that's what we have with that. Let's go to the Metroplex radar here real fast. The heaviest of the rain is shifting out of the Metroplex right now. Okay, we still have rain in the Metroplex, but the heaviest of the heavy is shifting out. We have the heaviest of the rain still here in Dallas County, but as we take a little wider look, and we have flash flood warnings in effect for almost everywhere in the Metroplex, but it's slowly dropping off to the southeast. And as it drops off to the southeast, that flood threat will go with it. So one area is going to dry out, like right now in Bowie and Wise County and Jack County, parts of Wise County, parts of big chunk of Denton County, big chunk of Collin County right now, you just have light rain. So this the heavy stuff's going to move out, and then the lighter rain is going to dominate for the next couple of hours. So you can see what we have happening here across Johnson County, across Parker County, Tarrant County, Jack County, also Wise County, up here to the north, Gainesville on over toward Sherman, Bonham, down to Collin. There's Hunt County, the heavy rain's falling. Dallas County, the rain is falling there. So let me give you the forecast real fast. So this is in about 30 minutes. There's your rain. See how it's shifting out of the Metroplex by 3 p.m.? By 4 p.m., the Metroplex, other than some light rain, that's going to be about it. There's 5 o'clock. Here's 6. So the rain is going to slowly end. By 7 o'clock tonight, the Metroplex and a big chunk of North Texas is going to be dry. And it's a wet afternoon, and then we slowly dry out as we head through the evening. But once we get into the evening hours, the heaviest of the heavy and the flooding threat is going to have shifted out of North Texas. It'll then be in East Texas, in Southeast Texas. So that's the way it looks. So I want you to do this. It's now 1:30. We're going to send you on...
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We're going to move away from this coverage. Again, there's a tornado warning near the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We want to come back closer home to Myrtle Beach, where right now the mayor, police chief, providing updates on a recent shooting incident along Ocean Boulevard and the ongoing investigation. If you're not familiar, Ocean Boulevard is the main road throughout the Strip in Myrtle Beach right now. So there are a lot of questions regarding this investigation, this incident. Let's listen in.
Sick. As we all now know, 11 people were injured. One of those, unfortunately, is in critical condition, and one life was lost. This is our home. This is our community. This is not what Myrtle Beach is, and this does not define who we are. I believe that the quick response by our Myrtle Beach police officers saved many lives Saturday night. Our officers responded within seconds, mere seconds, and the shooting happened feet away from where they were. They did exactly what they are trained to do, to protect us, our residents, our businesses, and our visitors. When an incident of this magnitude happens, our responsibility as public servants is to relay accurate information to the community. Gathering this information is not a quick or easy process. It involves going through every real-time crime camera in this area of Ocean Boulevard, every police camera, talking with witnesses, interviewing witnesses. All of this takes time, and this is the responsibility of the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. It is not the responsibility of the Myrtle Beach Police Department. Because this was an officer-involved shooting, SLED is responsible for this entire investigation, and that is why we have been so limited as to what we can share about the investigation. Just like you, we all want answers, and we will give you those answers. And I assure you that once SLED has completed their investigation, and we have the details, as we receive them throughout the investigation, we will be transparent in sharing what we can with the community. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Chief Amy Prock.
Hello, my name is Amy Prock, and I am the Chief of Police of the Myrtle Beach Police Department. I want to be very specific today. This is an active investigation. Myself, the Myrtle Beach Police Department, and the City of Myrtle Beach is cooperating with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division in conducting this investigation. And we will maintain its integrity. I will not answer questions that may compromise the impartiality of this investigation. This investigation is extensive. It's extensive in nature because of the physical size of the scene and the number of people involved. It will take time. We appreciate the patience of our community and the support of our community as SLED investigates this case. Those of you who don't know me, I have worked for over 28 years for this department. And during this time, I've had the opportunity to see growth in our city and in our department. This includes dedicated police officers and team members, community members, and business owners and members of businesses, as well as visitors to our city. On this past Saturday, it was no different. Our officers proactively patrolling with police vehicles on Ocean Boulevard, officers on foot, officers on bicycles, and other agency support. Visitors from all over the area, all over our state and out of state, and our businesses were all very busy. On April 26, 2025, the streets of Ocean Boulevard were packed of vehicles. The sidewalks were full of pedestrians. And at 11:50 p.m., gunshots rang out in the 900 block of Ocean Boulevard. Officers of the Myrtle Beach Police Department immediately encountered an armed man who was actively shooting into a crowd while on patrol. A Myrtle Beach police officer returned fire immediately at the armed man. The young man, later identified as Jacarius Davis, 18 of Bennettsville, South Carolina, was shot and pronounced dead at the scene. Officers immediately began rendering aid, and our emergency medical services were able to quickly respond utilizing our traffic management plan. During the incident, 11 individuals were injured as a result of gunshots, and they were treated. The victims' ages range from 13 to 43, with 10 life-threatening injuries that have been treated, with one individual who remains in critical condition. We, the Myrtle Beach Police Department, share in our community's concerns. Our officers, within seconds, were at the scene preventing more injuries. This random act of violence brought tragedy to our community, the community that we all love. We are praying for everyone who has been affected by this unnecessary and senseless violence. This department, the Myrtle Beach Police Department, is committed to the safety of our community, our visitors, and those who work here, as it always has been. Random acts of violence do not deter us from protecting our community. This random act of violence does not define who we are. We are a welcoming community. Our beachfront and all of its businesses and attractions are safe. They are a safe place for our families and visitors to enjoy and celebrate. Public safety is our commitment. It is our commitment to our community and to those who visit. The Myrtle Beach Police Department's goal is to provide safety and a safe environment for our residents and all of our visitors. We continually evaluate the needs within our community to be proactive with uniform presence, with technology, with deployment of resources in response and to prevention of senseless violence. One thing has not changed and will not change. Public safety is a shared responsibility. The Myrtle Beach Police Department focuses on holding those accountable. Holding those accountable who break the law and put our community at risk. Our goal has been and will continue to be at preventing illegally carrying and the use of firearms, which has been and continues to be across not only our community but all communities in our nation, putting our communities at risk. Acts of violence such as this have no place in our city or in our nation. We are committed and will continue to be committed to holding people accountable that commit such violence. And anyone who supports or enables or encourages such behavior. Violence endangers lives and threatens the peace and safety of our community. The Myrtle Beach Police Department, in collaboration with our local, state, and federal partners, will continue to actively pursue individuals. Actively pursue anyone who gets involved in such acts of violence. And we will take the necessary steps to move forward and protect our city. As a society, as a community, we want to take part in this solution. This is a wider conversation. It is a wider conversation, not just as a local police issue. We are committed to this as well. In South Carolina, Carolina alone, there are over 100 different providers that assist youth and parents. Over 100 providers. Here locally, these providers help daily. These providers locally, from Sea Haven to the Boys and Girls Club to SC Mentor to Family Connection to the Father's Place to our school district, and I could keep going. You hear my passion, you hear my tone. That is where I am at today, and that's where I will continue to be. This is where the conversation needs to start and continue. We need to, as a community, we need to, as a state, we need to, as a nation, senseless acts of violence. As your chief of police, I am here to assure you that while you are here in our city, the city of Myrtle Beach, so are we.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. That is a press conference regarding officer-involved shooting on Ocean Boulevard there in Myrtle Beach. They were giving updates there. It looks like that press conference froze. But we want to go back here now to this trial that's happening, the trial of Karen Reed, second murder trial. Right now, Jennifer McCabe, a key witness to the prosecution, back on the stand after recess. This is day 7 of that trial. Let's listen in to what's happening right now on the witness stand.
SUV.
They were in the back seat.
By the way, what kind of SUV were you in that night?
A Yukon.
Four-door,
yeah,
extended
big,
seating?
Yes.
When the SUV pulled out of the driveway, it was in the driveway?
Yes.
When the SUV backed out of the driveway, doing a 3-point turn, backed out of the driveway, did it go toward Chapman or did it go toward Cedar Crest?
It went towards Chapman.
So as you backed out of the driveway, you would have been heading toward the flagpole side of the, rather than back toward the driveway side of the property, correct?
Correct.
You would have driven directly adjacent to the area where John O'Keefe's body was later discovered at 6:04, 6:03 a.m., correct?
Yes, correct.
You were seated in the passenger seat of the vehicle, not the driver's seat.
Correct.
You were seated in the front of the vehicle, not the back seat.
Correct.
You would have been closest to the yard as y'all drove past, correct?
Correct.
That's a newer model Yukon. I'm assuming that the headlights automatically turn on at night?
Yes.
So the headlights were illuminated?
Yes.
Did your husband, Matt, did he turn on the brights? Or did he leave the beams on low? Or do you know?
I don't know.
But certainly the area in front of that SUV, that Yukon, was well lit.
The lights were on, yes.
You did not see anything out of the ordinary as you drove right by that location, did you?
I was looking in the back seat when we were driving.
Did you see anything out of the ordinary on that lawn as you drove by in that SUV?
No, because I wasn't looking at the lawn.
You certainly did not see John O'Keefe dressed in dark clothing laying prostrate in the lawn.
No, I did not.
You said that you were turned around talking to the other young ladies in the SUV, Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson. Is that right?
Yes.
You indicated that you were engaged with them about a conversation having to do with bread and maybe peanut butter or something.
Yes.
You didn't, as you passed by that location adjacent to where John's body was later discovered, you didn't hear Julie Nagel say anything out of the ordinary about having seen something?
No.
You didn't hear Sarah Levinson say anything out of the ordinary about having seen something?
No.
And according to you, you were turned around, directly engaged with both these young ladies as you passed by that area where John's body was later discovered. Is that right?
When we pulled out, I turned around and I was talking to them about the bread and the peanut butter. I'm not sure exactly where we were driving, but it was when we pulled out, yes.
You certainly never heard anybody say anything like, what was that, or anything close to that.
No, I didn't.
I'd like to turn your attention to your arrival back at 34 Fairview just after 6 a.m. the next morning. You indicate that the visibility was relatively poor and that you could not see John O'Keefe on that lawn from your perspective, correct?
The visibility was extremely poor, and no, I could not see him.
You were in the front seat, passenger side?
Yes, I was.
It was Karen Reed who actually saw Mr. O'Keefe, jumped out of the car, and began attending to him immediately, correct?
Karen got out of the car and ran to John O'Keefe.
And you stayed by the car, and Ms. Roberts ran over to assist Ms. Reed in giving first aid to, at least initially, to Mr. O'Keefe. Is that right?
No, that is not. Carrie got out and walked over, and then I got out and walked over.
You indicated that well, let me ask a different question. Yesterday, you testified in pretty significant detail that when you got out of the car, you could not see anything even close to the flagpole, correct?
Visibility was very bad, yes.
Matter of fact, you used the word whiteout conditions. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Whiteout conditions, you basically can't see your hand in front of your face.
I wouldn't say that extreme, but I used whiteout as there's just snow coming at you.
You were specifically asked by Mr. Brennan, how close did you have to get before you could actually see anything of note where Ms. Reed had gone? Is that right?
Yes.
You testified yesterday that you could see just merely shadowy figures of Ms. Reed and Carrie Roberts, and it wasn't until you got very close over to them that you could see John, in your words.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, you followed that up by saying that that was the first moment, once you got basically on top of them, that was the first moment that you realized that it was John, that there was a body on the ground, correct?
I said as I got close to them, I don't think on top of them.
Fair enough. It's my words, not yours. You did say, quote, very close to them, correct?
I'd have to see it, but...
Well, you just testified to it yesterday. And you remember saying, I could get very close to them.
I know I said I had got very close to them or close to them, something like that,
Okay.
yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't have a transcript of yesterday's testimony, I'm sorry. Last year you testified to something very different than that, though, didn't you?
No.
Isn't it true that last year you testified that you got out on the passenger side of the vehicle, which is, we'll agree, the furthest side from the lawn, as Ms. Roberts was driving from Chapman toward Crestview, Cedar Crest, correct?
Yes.
You testified that you were on the passenger side, and as you got out of the vehicle, you noted that Karen Reed was already at John. Is that right?
As I got out and walked around the back of the vehicle, the shadowy figure of Karen had already gotten onto something.
You further testified that as you got out of the vehicle, you noted that she straddled John, lifted up his shirt, lifted up her shirt, and went to lay on him. And Miss Roberts went over and said started removing snow from John's face. Correct?
I have the page and line number.
Where are you,
Sure.
Mr. Jackson?
May 17, 2024, RT 114, lines 14 to bottom, onto 115, line 4. Is that how you testified last year?
I'm sorry, would you mind just repeating it?
Sure.
Thank you.
You testified in substance that you were on the passenger side of the vehicle And as you got out, quote, as I got out, end quote, she, Miss Reed, was already at John. You indicated that you saw her straddle him, lift up his shirt, lift up her shirt, and lay on top of him while Miss Roberts went over and removed snow from his face. That's how you testified last year, correct?
Exactly.
Is that how you testified last year?
I'm not sure. I know.
Next question.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to look at a copy of your testimony from last year?
I don't think looking at it would refresh my memory. I know I might have used different words, but the bottom line is I got out of the car, went behind the car, went over, and Karen had done that.
Ms. McCabe, I'm asking, do you think it would refresh your, if you don't have a good recollection of how you testified last year under oath, sitting on that witness stand, I'm asking, do you think it would refresh your recollection to see your transcript from last year?
I don't need to see my transcript. I know what I know and I know what I remember. So
That's not my question. I'm not asking you what you remember now. I'm asking you how you testified a year ago, ma'am.
whether I said it was as we're fighting over silly words, whether I said as I got out of the car, we were there.
Words matter. They matter a lot.
Okay, so remember, Mr. Jackson, no comments. Ms. McCabe, how you answer his questions.
Okay.
Do you remember exactly how it is that you testified last year?
I do not know.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, does that refresh your recollection as to how you testified in substance last year?
I see what it says I said, but it's a little bit different than what you stated.
Okay, then let's walk through that. Did you indicate last year that as you got out of the vehicle, that's when you could see what Ms. Reed was doing with John O'Keefe, down to the detail of pulling her shirt up and pulling his shirt up to try to go skin to skin?
I object.
Why don't I see it side by? Why don't you bring it with you, Mr. Jackson, please?
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus right now. There looks like there is a quick break in the Karen Reed trial, day 7 of that trial. We want to shift over to our content partners over there at CARE 11 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Right now, we are following a shooting there, a possible shooting there. This comes hours after another, from what I'm reading.
It appears to be there's 2 different shootings that happen really close together, but just hours apart.
Okay.
So we're actually trying to learn what's happening as well.
And there looks like there's going to be a press conference any minute now. So we want to join in coverage with them, but we are near the top of the hour. Coming up at 3 o'clock, you'll hear the voice of Colin Mayfield. He'll be here on the stream for the next hour. And then you can join us for the news at 4, 5, 6. But for right now, let's listen in to the live coverage from CARE 11 in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And if you don't mind me asking, I know you don't have a ton of information right now, but Where you're at, it looks kind of like an on-ramp, or is that a frontage road? It looks like you're near highways. Is that the case?
Yeah, Rena, it's really busy. Traffic has gotten pretty hectic because they had to block off this intersection for a little bit. So we are right next to the highway. But this ramp here, it doesn't go on to a freeway. It actually leads up to kind of this apartment complex that you can't see behind here. So very close, to the interstate.
Did Sergeant Parton give you any idea? I think we're expecting this news conference fairly soon. Is that right? And will he have information on both scenes, or are we just learning about what is happening here right now?
Rena, we're still waiting to learn that information. They were getting ready to have a press conference at 1:30 about the deadly shooting that happened last night. So we very well could get an update on both situations. They're probably going to address what's happening here. We do know that it's a shooting, but when Sergeant Parton arrived, he literally just pulled up and said, "I don't have much for you. I'm working to get some more information." So we're still waiting to see if we're going to get information on both scenes. I would expect we would, since the police were planning on having that press conference at 1:30 to talk about what happened last night. So if we do, we'll make sure to keep you guys updated.
With all the people that are out there right now, does this seem like it's very active, or does it seem like the police presence is calmer?
Rena, I would say it's a very active scene. We actually just got word or found out that the mayor has actually showed up to this scene. So it looks like we'll be hearing from the mayor in addition to the police chief. But, there's been a lot of people walking up and down these sidewalks biking. So it's a very active scene. And just by looking at the presence, we have several squad cars here. Now that the mayor is here in addition to the police, we can kind of feel that it feels pretty big, since we've had two of these shootings kind of happening so close to each other.
So Mayor Jacob Fry on the scene right now. Obviously, this is a big deal. We haven't had, as Chief O'Hara said last night, we haven't had something like this happen in a very long time. 5 people shot last night. 3 of them passed away at the scene. Another person or 2 more people taken to the hospital, and then a second shooting not far from where that happened shortly after that. We still don't know if any of these things are connected. And if you're just joining us, we are at the scene of a shooting. Oh, this is video, from last night. This is video from today. So that is Chief O'Hara on the scene right now. This is in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood, and we are waiting to find out what exactly happened here. We have a photographer on the scene, Gage, and he has told our other crew that he has seen multiple shell cases on the ground, and we have heard that this is a shooting that they were responding to. While our crew was waiting to hear about last night's shooting, where the 5 people were shot, 3 of whom died, this happened. And so our crew gathered up and drove. They said it's about 5 to 7 minute drive from where last night's shooting was to where this is right now. And we don't know if these two are related. So we're waiting for the police chief or Sergeant Parton to come and let us know, fill us in on what is happening with these several shootings now, whether any of the shootings today or this shooting here today involved any fatalities. We don't know any of that information yet. And as you just saw, we had Jessica on the scene. And this is a shot from their camera. She was talking about the apartment building. It's kind of up this road towards an apartment building that we weren't quite able to see, and she said that's where the road leads to, and they are at the very bottom of this. So all they can really see at this point are all these emergency vehicles, and you can see there are a lot of them there. Jessica's waiting anxiously to find out information, as are we. She just mentioned to us that Mayor Jacob Fry is now also on the scene. And, I'm sure this is disappointing to police, especially because they just recently came out to talk and tout about crime numbers going down, the homicides going down, burglaries going down. Like, all the statistics had been trending in the right direction, which I'm sure felt good to police. And now this. So still waiting on for some information. Let's go back out to Jessica Hart to see if she's heard anything new or if we're seeing any movement on a news conference. Jessica?
Yeah, Rena, we haven't seen any movement just yet on this news conference. I'm assuming that's just because the mayor had just arrived. They might be briefing him possibly on the situation here. So we're still just waiting patiently down at the intersection for this press conference to happen. We were told 15 minutes ago it's going to be happening right now. So we're expecting an update here relatively soon, but there's still just a very heavy police presence here right now.
You mentioned a lot of people in the area, maybe people biking and walking, and do people seem concerned or panicked, or is it more just they're looking to see if they can find any information, or are they just people who happen to be going through the neighborhood like on their normal everyday business?
You know, it's a mix of both, Rena. We did see one gentleman drove down here from a bike who drove from the scene, and he just kind of had this solemn look on his face. And, you know, most of the people that we've interacted with down here at the intersection, they're just kind of curious as to what's going on. And then when you tell them that there was a shooting, they're kind of shocked because they're like, oh, there's an apartment building right there. Like, is anyone okay? Like, that's their first question. They want to know if anyone's hurt. And unfortunately, we don't have those answers right now. We're working to get them. But there's just a lot of shock and I guess surprise, you could say, that something like this happened right here, just so close to an apartment building. So a lot of people just have questions about what is going on. And we've met some people, we've heard them shouting at officers who are actually trying to get into this apartment building because this is home for them, and police unfortunately are not able to let them through at the time.
Okay, so the entire area is blocked off, even to residents who live in that apartment building. And Jessica, we still don't know for sure if this happened at that apartment building or nearby. You're far enough away that you can't see that. Is that correct?
That's correct, Rena. We're not sure if this happened inside, if this happened outside. We're hoping we'll learn those details at this press conference. It's very close in proximity from where this apartment building is situated to where the police are staged down here, but we're still waiting to get that confirmation to see exactly how close this is and if this did in fact happen outside or inside.
We talked a little bit about this area, and it looks very urban in the sense that there's a lot of traffic. It's not a residential neighborhood so much, at least from what I can see in this vantage point. You mentioned an apartment complex, but from where Gage is at, our other photographer is on the scene, does that scene look like it's more more residential, or does it look a lot like this as well?
You know, Rena, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been able to see exactly where Gage is. I just know he's on the opposite side of where we're at. But just from where I'm standing, you have apartment complexes across the street. You have a health resource center up the street. So it is kind of like that mix of just urban. There is a lot of traffic here, so this is a busy road. But exactly where Gage is, I don't have that exact information to see if he's in a more residential spot.
And you've mentioned all the police presence there, and we can see it with our own eyes with the video. Lots of police cars. You mentioned an ambulance. I saw 2 Hennepin County Sheriff's vehicles drive away. Are there any other agencies that are on scene that you've noticed, or anybody from any other cities that have come in to help, or is this strictly a Minneapolis-Hennepin County situation?
Rena, from what I can tell, it's just a Minneapolis-Hennepin County situation at the moment. There are a lot of unmarked vehicles here that are parked kind of along this on-ramp here. So if there are any other police agencies here, from where we're standing, we're not able to see those marked cars or see them out just kind of walking. We've only seen Minneapolis police and sheriff deputies.
We talked about this being an active situation as well, and when we talk about active, you know, obviously there's a lot of traffic and foot traffic and car traffic there, but the police don't seem to be in a rush or a hurry. There doesn't seem to be a SWAT team or a hostage situation that we know of. It seems relatively calm from a law enforcement standpoint. Do you think that that is the case? You can see someone on our shot here consoling somebody who was obviously perhaps witness to what happened today. But Jessica, back to you with the question. Obviously, this doesn't seem to be an active police situation. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, the officers where we're at down here, Rena, are pretty calm. I haven't seen any sort of like SWAT or tactical vehicles on site, so it seems like this situation has been contained. You just did see that someone just kind of going through something very emotional here at the moment right now, but police are not running around. They're not frantic. They seem pretty calm at the moment.
If you're just joining us, let's fill you in on where we are right now. Jessica Hart is in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood that is on the south side of downtown Minneapolis. It's a residential urban area. The streets are very busy right there. The police were responding to a shooting in that location, which is very near to a shooting that happened last night, also in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. 5 people were shot last night, and 3 of them died at the scene. 2 people were taken to the hospital. And then just a few blocks away, and a short time later, another person was shot. It is not clear if those 2 are related to what's happening now or even to each other. But for a city that hasn't seen a ton of this kind of violence in a while, it is shocking to the neighbors. As you can see, the people who are reacting to last night's shooting, they're learning that 5 people were shot, 3 of whom died. Jessica Hart talked to somebody on the scene today who said that they knew somebody who was part of that shooting last night. This is the scene from today. You can see Mayor Jacob Fry there in the distance. He is arrived on the scene, and I'm guessing he will be part of this news conference that we're expecting to have. Chief O'Hara is also on the scene. He was at the scene last night giving us information saying that this hasn't happened in about 5 years, this kind of devastating crime. They do believe last night's shooting was targeted, and they do believe last night's shooting was gang related. You can see someone there walking along the fence. This is the scene from today. We do keep going back and forth, so I hope we're not confusing you here, but this is from today. This is live, happening right now. That's someone at the scene around the apartment building that Jessica was talking about. Now, we don't know if this shooting today happened near or in this apartment building. We're being kept fairly far away, or our crews, I should say, are being kept a little further from the scene, so we are still waiting for police to give us an update on exactly what is happening here, how many people were shot, if there are any fatalities. We don't know any of that information on this particular shooting just yet. We do know that we are expecting a police briefing anytime now. We were told it was going to happen, about 10 minutes ago. So we're expecting that maybe they're just finishing up the details that they are available to pass out to the public. And we will get to that just as soon as they approach our microphones to let us know what is going on. You can see this is obviously an incredibly emotional scene. We're witnessing people who are obviously witnessing something terrible today, and we don't know anything about this person's story, but we do know that crime is awful and it affects a lot of people, and again, a very emotional scene obviously there today. If you're just joining us, we're waiting for the police to come up and give us an update. We're going to go back out to Jessica Hart, who's at the scene. And Jessica, I know you don't know much more, but what can you fill us in on what's happening right now?
Well, Rena, we just saw Mayor Fry get out of his vehicle. He was sitting in for a little bit and walked up to kind of the top of where this seat is at to talk with Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, presumably just getting some information on what exactly is happening here. Now, we did see one other communications person, Sergeant Garrett Parton, walk down, setting up their own camera for their stream. So it's giving the feel that this press conference will be happening very shortly here. Now, that person you did see kind of walking along that fence, they actually hopped the
Good afternoon here at WCNC Plus, the live impact stream. I'm Colin Mayfield alongside Jeb Goldman for the next 50 minutes or so ahead of the 4 p.m. show with Jen Monreal and Nick Sturdivant, who is just in here. We've been watching not just the developments in Minneapolis based on this shooting as they continue to be on scene and talk about what they're seeing, the developments that seem to be happening as the investigation is very active. There's also the Karen Reed trial. As we know, a key prosecution witness, Jennifer McCabe, has returned to the stand today. So we'll continue to watch both situations right now. But we'll go back to the situation in Minneapolis as CARE continues to report here.
There, Mayor Jacob Fry is on the scene. Chief of Police Brian O'Hara also on the scene, and obviously they're getting briefed to give us any information about this shooting here today. Where Jessica's vantage is, she can't see much of what's happening where the actual scene is. We have another photographer on the scene named Gage, and Gage says from his vantage point, he is able to see many shell casings. And we were told that this was a shooting, and again, our crews were waiting to hear about last night's shooting when they got called to this shooting here. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Did you want me to go out to? We're going. Okay, all right. We're gonna just fill you all in if you're trying to figure out and you're just joining us what exactly is going on here tonight. But Minneapolis police are responding to some breaking news: another shooting in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood just south of downtown Minneapolis, and this is the shot from that scene right now. Mayor Jacob Fry there, Chief O'Hara there, several emergency vehicles there right now. We saw some Hennepin County sheriff's deputies leave the scene. Jessica told us there's an ambulance on the scene as well, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of panic in the police officers. So whatever the situation is, it seems to be at least contained, and there doesn't appear to be a threat to people in the community right now. And we mentioned we have actually several crews on the scene now who will bring us more information just as soon as it becomes available. Now, this is the same area, about 5 to 7 minute drive, Jessica says, from where 5 people were shot last night. Again, the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. It's near the intersection of 25th Street and East Bloomington where the shooting happened last night. Let's take some video from that scene. Police say the shooting was likely targeted and likely gang related. 3 of those 5 people died on the scene. 2 were taken to the hospital. And shortly after that, another person was shot just a few blocks away from this scene here. It is not clear if those 2 are related or if either of those is related to what is happening right now in Minneapolis. What we do know is that our crew is waiting to get an update on this shooting from last night when they heard the police sirens, and the police were called to the shooting that is happening right now, just 5 to 7 minutes away, Jessica says, from where this scene is. And now we are waiting to get an update from police and potentially Mayor Jacob Frey, who is now on the scene. Terrible news, obviously. And last night, the police chief said that something like this hasn't happened in 5 years. We're trying to get a look from Sky 11 here. I think maybe the signal might be breaking up. We'll go back to that shot just as soon as we can. There we go. Whoops. We're trying. It's trying. We're having a little technical difficulties with that. So right now, this is the live scene from today. You can see some people waiting along the fence right there. Jessica was saying that some people live in that apartment. They're not able to get in or out of their homes. Someone obviously jumped a fence just trying to get out of that apartment complex area to go about their business. This is a very busy intersection where this is at, and shutting off the road has obviously created some traffic issues as well. But can we go back to Jessica now? Is that possible? Okay, we're having some technical difficulties with signals, both with Jessica's camera and with Sky 11, but we will bring you those aerials just as soon as we are able to. You can see an ambulance there on the scene as well. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of panic in the air, which is good, and Jessica said that she did not see a SWAT team or anything like that on the scene. Right now, we don't know at this particular scene how many people were shot, if anybody has passed away. We're still waiting to get details on that. Obviously, the police still not ready to give out any information. Maybe they're trying to figure out what is releasable to the public, but there does not appear to be a threat to the public. As you can see, people walking around, and the police obviously seem to be fairly calm. We don't know if this shooting is related to last night's shooting where 5 people were shot and 3 people died, and then another person shot just a few blocks away. We don't know if this is gang related. We don't really know much about this scene right now. We are waiting for officers to approach our cameras. This right here is video from last night, 25th and Bloomington, where those 5 people were shot. Obviously a tragic scene. You can see the emotion on people's faces as they're learning the news, potentially learning that someone that they knew was involved with that. Our Jessica Hart talked to somebody at that scene who knew one of the people that was shot last night, and you know, obviously a very emotional time. We've seen some people here breaking down on the sidewalk and police consoling them, as well as obviously they're learning information about what happened today and how it affects them and maybe somebody that they know. That is Sergeant Parton right there, and he is one of the police information officers, and he looks like he might be approaching the cameras. Maybe he's going to give us an update here on just how long until we're going to get a news conference. Obviously, that's a shot of Mayor Jacob Frey, understandably concerned, and showed up on the scene. Let's hear what Parton has to say. I can't really hear anything, so you guys might have to let me know if he's letting us know if it's time for a news conference. Okay. So we don't know anything really yet about timeline. This news conference was supposed to happen about 15 to 17 minutes ago, but obviously they are still figuring out what information can be released and what they are, what they need to tell us, the public, about what's happening here today. As we mentioned, Mayor Jacob Frey on the scene, Chief O'Hara on the scene, plenty of Minneapolis police on the scene, an ambulance there. Hennepin County also involved in this situation. What we do know is that there is an apartment very nearby to where this is. Our crew is being kept at the bottom of the street, as are all traffic and all people who live in the area. It is closed off to people. You can see it is obviously very close to the light rail behind them there. This is South Minneapolis. This is just south of downtown, and this is in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. What we are waiting to find out is not only the details about what happened on the scene here today, but we're also trying to find out if this shooting is related to the shooting last night that happened just minutes away. They consider it the same neighborhood, the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. Last night's shooting, police tell us they do believe was gang related. Here's our aerials. This is Sky 11 right now, showing us the scene just down the street from where Jessica was a little bit. You can see there's a highway right there. The apartment complex is obviously a focal point of where this shooting happened. We still don't have much information about what happened here, how many people are involved, if anybody is hurt. So we're waiting for police to give us an update on that. Also trying to find out whether today's shooting is also targeted and also gang related. And Chief O'Hara speaking last night saying that something like this hasn't happened in about 5 years. In fact, just recently touting crime numbers here in Minneapolis, in the city, just talking about the way the trends are going the opposite direction, how there have been fewer homicides and armed robberies and things of that nature. So obviously this will be disappointing news for the chief, who shows up at all of these scenes. I'm sure you've probably noticed as citizens like we do that this chief is very involved and very active in trying to be transparent. So hopefully we'll get as much information as we can as they prepare there with Mayor Jacob Frey to come and speak to us. We have two crews at the scene right now. Jessica Hart and David Peterlins are here at this location where we do expect that news conference to happen at any moment. And then Gage is our other photographer who is on the other side of this. So he is in a different location, but same scene, if you will. So they we're waiting to maybe get some video in from him as well. And if we get that in-house, we will show that to you here. We do know that he said he saw several shell casings on the ground, so we do know that this in fact was a shooting. We just don't know if anyone was hurt or how many people were involved. And any chance that we have Jessica back up, that we can go back to her to hear anything new? Okay. All right, I'm being told that Jessica's getting ready for the news conference, so she needs to pay attention there so she can get the details for us just as quickly as possible. Again, this is a live scene right now. We had Sky 11 there. It seems to be having a little bit of technical difficulties. But if you're just joining us right now, police are hoping to give an update. We know they're going to give an update on this shooting that is happening in South Minneapolis right now, the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. What we do know is our crews were at the scene of a shooting last night where police were supposed to be giving an update on a triple homicide in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. And that's when police were called to the location today, and our crews went and followed along. We are going to hopefully have a police news conference here in just a few minutes. We're about 20 minutes behind, waiting for them to figure out what information is releasable to us at this point. We don't know if they are searching for suspects. We don't know if there are suspects. We don't know if anybody has died in this shooting or whether it's connected to last night. So we're hoping very soon to hear from police. Again, that is Mayor Jacob Frey on the scene. Obviously a serious situation when you have this many shootings in less than 24 hours, and the mayor probably rightfully so concerned and wanting to let the public know what he knows and be transparent as well. If you're just joining us now, we are waiting for police, and this is a live look at the scene today where we do know there was a shooting, but we don't know how many people were involved. Police were supposed to update us a few minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, so we're still waiting to hear what might be happening. Here's another live look from Sky 11. You can see this a fairly large apartment complex that seems to be the focal point or at the center of this, and you can see that this is a very busy neighborhood. You can see all the roads surrounding this area. It does not look like a residential neighborhood at all. We don't know if this was a targeted shooting, but we do know that last night's was, police believe, targeted and gang related. There's an Ambulance on the scene, obviously not in a hurry. And as we mentioned, police don't seem to be in a hurry, or there doesn't seem to be panic in the air. There is not, as we can tell, a SWAT team on location. So whatever has happened here in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood seems to be contained, does not seem to be a threat to the public at this point. But again, police have not filled us in on any details just quite yet. You can see some people there. Jessica had mentioned that there are plenty of people that were trying to get into their apartment building. This is their home. This is where they live. But they have been unable to get through the scene. Police have not letting people through there, but obviously not panicked enough to turn people around. I know they've had to shut that road down, so traffic in that area is likely a bit congested. So if you are headed to this area in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood, you'll want to pay attention to the roads and maybe pick a different route as you're trying to travel through your regular day. Jessica said that there was a lot of people riding bikes or just walking through the neighborhood, going about their business. She did we did see someone who was obviously impacted by what has happened here today. Police were consoling someone who was on the ground, obviously witnessed something that was, terribly emotional. I do believe we have Joe McCoy available now. Joe, are you there? Can you hear me?
They're in my pocket.
Right.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a little?
Joe, can you hear me?
Oh.
All right, we've lost Joe's signal, and I know if you're tuning in, you're probably listening to me repeat the same things over and over again. We are just waiting for the police to come to the microphone and give us an update on what is happening in this neighborhood. About 25 minutes behind schedule. This is a live look at the scene right now. This is in South Minneapolis, just south of downtown in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood, and reports of a shooting in that neighborhood. One of our photographers says he saw many shell casings on the ground. We're trying to find out who was involved, how many people were involved, if there's a suspect in custody, are they looking for anybody? We don't have any of that information right now, but you can see Chief O'Hara right there getting ready to update us on this situation. Chief O'Hara was getting ready to update us on a situation that happened last night where 5 people were shot. That's where our crew was, waiting to get an update on that shooting when this happened. Police were called away, and so our crews were called away as well, and they went to this scene to see if this is somehow related to what happened last night, where Chief O'Hara said he did believe that that was targeted, and he did believe that that was gang related. Jessica Hart is on the scene waiting for folks to come over and give us a holler and let us know exactly what is happening here. All right, I believe we have a map, so we can, if you're like me and you're geographically challenged and you're trying to figure out exactly where this is a map of the 2 shootings. The first shooting happened last night where the 5 people were shot, 3 people killed. And then on the other side there of the highway, you can see this just south of 94 in downtown. That second shooting, just about 5 to 7 minutes drive away is what Jessica said. It didn't take them very long at all. This is considered the same neighborhood, the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. And so this is where, if you can put your mind to it and imagine these 2 locations, this is where the first and second shooting happened. Also at that first shooting last night, another person just a few blocks away was also shot, is expected to survive, and we don't know if any of these are connected at this point. I do believe we have Joe McCoy back now, and hopefully our technology is working. And Joe, what do you know so far? Where are you at on the scene?
Yeah, Rena, we are behind this apartment building here. The address is 2111. This is the Red Lake Nation Embassy, and also 2115, which is the Minor B Wellness Clinic here in South Minneapolis. As you just mentioned, about 5 minutes or so from where that shooting happened earlier overnight here. And it looks like we're actually moving this presser again. What I can tell you is that on scene, our photographer, Gage Curitan, who was on the scene a little bit earlier here at this location, he saw them put a tent over a body here right outside of the building. So that is where a lot of the investigators are right now. Gage said that he saw a lot of shell casings on the ground at this location. We've seen the mayor, Jacob Fry, walking around with Police Chief Brian O'Hara. Of course, there's a very large police presence here from the Minneapolis Police Department. I want to show you guys the angle that we have right now of the building. This is exactly where it looks like this crime happened this afternoon. They wanted us to move locations for the press conference because initially where we were located, it was right along the interstate. So they wanted us to move the press conference that way traffic could flow properly. And they said also some kids were going to be dropped off from school shortly. So they did not want the kids to be around this area. So we moved now to the backside of the building here, where it also looks like this is where the crime happened this afternoon. So we're just waiting for this press conference to happen. It looks like Mayor Jacob Fry is being briefed on the incident with, of course, Police Chief Brian O'Hara and the rest of the Minneapolis Police Department. Rena.
Joe, when they took the shot from Sky 11, it looks like this apartment complex is plopped down in the middle of like traffic highways. Does it seem fairly urban and not very residential? Because it does not look like this is where people live.
Yeah, no, that is an absolutely correct assessment, Rena. This apartment building is kind of, as you said, there's a bunch of highways, a bunch of interstates, and then there's this beautiful brand new apartment building here in the middle of it all. It does not look like residents have been able to get back into the apartment building yet. We've seen a bunch of residents just kind of wandering around. We saw one hop the fence to get out of the property so he could, go about his business. That's of course, besides the victims in this shooting, this is happening outside where people live. And this is, of course, a very scary sight to happen, period. But of course, this happening in the middle of the day, right after there was just another shooting overnight. It's really scary for the residents here in this building and those who live in this area. Of course, right now, we do not know if the shooting overnight and this shooting right now, whether or not they are connected or related to each other. Hopefully, the police chief can provide us some more information on that. But they're just continuing, this is a very fresh scene for them as well as it is for us here, the reporters. So they're just trying to gather as much information and evidence as they can currently, Rena.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a couple of businesses, and you mentioned the Red Lake Nation Embassy. Is that like in the bottom of that apartment complex, or are they separate buildings that just happen to be nearby?
No, those are all connected in this same complex, Rena. I'm not sure if you can see here. You can see the 2115, that's the Red Lake Nation Embassy. The 2115, that's Mino B Wellness Clinic. And there's also another one here, 2107, that says, there's another building here. It's kind of hard to tell what exactly it says. There's a bunch of stuff blocking it. So that looks like that those are businesses at the bottom of this building with then residences on top of the building.
Okay, Joe, we appreciate it. Is there anything else that we need to know from your location? I know we're just waiting right now for the police to give us an update on this shooting in South Minneapolis. Unfortunately, it sounds like there may have been a person involved, a body involved, but we don't know any particular information at this point as we wait for this news conference with Chief O'Hara and with Mayor Jacob Fry, who is actually on the scene as well. We do have unconfirmed reports of now a third shooting, the 3300 block of Harriet, and so we have a crew en route to that as well. So now we're talking 3 different locations, 3 different shootings potentially. Again, this third shooting is unconfirmed, but that would be the 3300 block, of Harriet, and obviously stay out of the area as police try to figure out what's going on here and keep everything under control. Obviously active in the sense that police are still there. They have not cleared the scene in any way, shape, or form, but obviously there isn't a sense of panic there, if you will. It seems to be contained at least. So last night, if you are just joining us, let's get you up to date on exactly what is happening right now. Police were about to give us an update on a shooting from last night. Let's take a look at the scene from today. So the scene from today, several emergency vehicles are on the scene right now. This is where we are right now. This is what's happening at this moment. Police are responding to a shooting in South Minneapolis. This is the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. Before they were here, they were at the scene of a shooting from last night, and I think we have some video of that as well. Last night at this location, 25th and Bloomington, I believe, is the location there. 5 people were shot, 3 people died on the scene, 2 were taken to the hospital. Just a few blocks and a short time later, someone else was shot. That person is expected to be okay. At the time, Chief O'Hara told us he did not know whether those 2 incidents were related, but that he did believe that this was targeted, this was not random, and that he did believe that this was gang related. He also said that something like this, to this degree, has not happened in 5 years in the city of Minneapolis. You can see here on a map the 2 shootings, the first shooting last night and then the second shooting that police are at right now. While we were waiting for an update on that shooting from last night, this second shooting happened. Oh, you know, here comes the mayor and the chief.
Our city is grieving right now, and we know that our Native community is feeling that trauma quite acutely. We are making sure that every available resource is utilized to catch the perpetrators of these horrible crimes. We will be making sure that the people that are responsible for these horrible killings are brought to justice. We're going to be working directly with community members to make sure that we have the right information and that we are doing everything possible to make sure that the people responsible are held responsible. To the families and the friends of the deceased, I cannot tell you how sorry we are. This has been tragic, and I know how much pain they are presently in, and I can't imagine what they're feeling right now. I have directed our chief of police to utilize every single available resource to make sure, again, that the perpetrators of these crimes are held responsible. While we don't have a ton of information yet, we do have several leads that we are presently acting on. We're hearing from community members that what happened last night, we could be seeing today as a retaliation. But regardless, we have leads. We are operating on those leads, and my hope is that shortly we're going to be able to bring the perpetrators of these crimes to justice. The chief will be able to give a bit of additional information, but every available resource is right now out in the field. We are working with a number of different jurisdictions to assist as well. This is unacceptable, and we will not tolerate it in this city. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to begin by recapping the investigation that began last night, while noting that we are about 14 and a half hours into it. There is a whole lot of evidence that's been retrieved, numerous leads that are being pursued. However, I am limited in the information that we can disclose. So, to recap last night, 3rd Precinct police officers responded to 3 ShotSpotter activations and multiple 911 calls within the area of the 1500 block of East 25th Street near Bloomington Avenue. Near the alleyway, officers located 3 men and 2 women, all of them suffering from gunshot wounds. 2 men and 2 women were inside of the vehicle at that location. Officers provided immediate medical aid and life-saving efforts, including CPR, until fire and EMS personnel arrived to take over. 2 men and 1 woman were pronounced deceased at that scene. The remaining man and woman were transported to Hennepin Healthcare with life-threatening injuries. Their condition remains the same. Preliminary information indicates that this was a targeted shooting, which means that this was not random. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner will release the identities of the deceased along with the official causes and manners of death. Victim 1 is a male, 28 years of age. Victim 2, a woman, 20 years of age. Victim 3, a woman, 20 years of age. Victim 4, a juvenile male, 17 years of age. Victim 5, a male, 27 years of age. And it is the 20-year-old woman, 17-year-old male, and the 27-year-old male that are deceased from that scene. We are working with urgency to address that shooting that occurred last night. I've been in contact with the U.S. Attorney's Office, as well as the FBI and the U.S. Marshals Service, and they are assisting in that investigation. Since that incident, our investigators have been working diligently, and evidence is actively being reviewed and analyzed. We are following very promising leads, and we remain focused on identifying all those who were responsible. This morning, we have met with community leaders and residents to listen to their concerns and address immediate needs. Additional meetings were scheduled for this afternoon. We are working in partnership with the Metropolitan Urban Indian Directors Association, a coalition of American Indian community leaders. Their collaboration has been instrumental in guiding our community response. In response to this tragedy, we have directed additional resources to increase police presence in the area, aimed at restoring a sense of safety and addressing any emergent public safety issues. Violent incidents of this magnitude leave a deep impact, not only on the American Indian community, but on our officers, our investigators, and our community as a whole. Indeed, there are many questions. We are still in the early stages of both of these investigations. We ask for the public's patience as our investigators follow the evidence to their logical conclusion, thoroughly and carefully. We have consistently highlighted the recent declines in homicides in this shooting as a welcome trend. However, we are acknowledging very clearly, as we did last night, that there is obviously much work to be done. This is a harsh and very painful reminder for our community of that fact. Switching to today, shortly after 1 p.m., Minneapolis police received 911 calls at a shooting on the block behind me. University of Minnesota police, transit police, as well as Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies responded to this scene. They found a male in his 30s and immediately began providing life-saving medical aid. Unfortunately, that male was later pronounced deceased at the scene by EMS. What is even more disturbing than everything else we've already been talking about is that one round from this shooting struck an SUV. It went through the back door of the SUV and passed just beneath the legs of 2 children in child seats, an infant and a toddler. We've been hearing from people in the community that they believe people know what's going on here. And that's why, just like I said last night, we need people from the community to come forward, even anonymously, and help us. We're tracking leads. I am confident in the law enforcement response that's been going on the last several hours. And I'm confident that we're making very, very good progress in both of these cases. But it is an obvious sign of something the community has been saying that we know all too well, that oftentimes conflicts are being resolved in this manner. And it's completely foolish, and we cannot allow it to stand. Again, that being said, I'll open it up to some questions, but again, I'm limited on the information that we can provide. We are 3 blocks away from where there was a shooting last night. The community has been telling us they believe something is going on here. Obviously, we're going to allow the evidence to take us where it is, but of course, we believe that's a strong possibility. We're working with, as I mentioned, FBI, the U.S. Attorney, Hennepin County Sheriff, the Transit Police, the University of Minnesota Police who are here. We're working on increasing visible police presence immediately in the areas here that are affected, as well as getting additional assistance in the investigation, technical assistance, as well as additional resources to bring everybody involved into custody. Yes. Well, I can tell you, obviously what we're seeing right now, as the community is saying, we believe something is going on here. And so oftentimes what is the case in the community violence that we see, particularly when we think there may be a connection or in some way associated with gang activity, that conflicts tend to be resolved in this manner. And we've just seen an outrageous amount of violence here just in the last 13 hours. And so while, every incident is tragic, this speaks to the urgency that we need to act to do what we need to do every step of the way to take people into custody as soon as possible. But we also need the public's help. With the public's help, it'll be faster. I cannot. As I said, we are certainly not ruling out that this is related in some way. We're 3 blocks away, community saying something's going on here. We have to follow the evidence. I cannot speculate. You can make your own assumptions based off the facts. I believe to the information that I have, that I know of, all of the victims that I know of, we believe are Native. Yes. Yes.
This is one person shot today?
Yes, one person shot.
And last night it was just 3, there wasn't a 4th?
No, there are 3 deceased. I gave that in the beginning. There is a male that has been in grave condition since he got to the hospital last night, and there's an additional female with life-threatening injuries in the hospital. Yes. One toddler and 1 infant.
And it looks like this happened just outside this apartment building here.
Yes. The residents are obviously terrified. I know there's at least 1 person that was in need of medical aid while I was here shortly after the call came in, and they're very, very deeply affected and traumatized. And so for sure, we're trying to do everything that we can for all of the families and everyone in the community to restore some sense of safety for them as fast as possible.
Chief, in terms of resource deployment, are you pulling resources from other precincts in the city right now to...
We have pulled resources citywide. We are getting help from the Hennepin County Sheriff, from the FBI, the U.S. Marshals. We are asking for additional help from the Sheriff's Office for patrols in general in this area. And I know we even have some help from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office involving the investigation. I'm not able to speak on that at this time. I don't have information to confirm that, but there was, I believe there was a weapon found on the scene. The person found here today was on the street, yes.
Chief, so how do you put in perspective, the city just went through this record long period without, homicide in the city, just in terms of viewing it as, frustration after this long period, or, still pleased with the work that's been done? How do you feel about this having happened?
Well, it shows that progress is fragile. And though, I'm confident that we have very good partnerships and sound strategies, that alone is not enough. And so, again, as I was making an appeal for community help, we need everyone to stand up and say this is not okay. We need to continue what we're doing and move forward. And law enforcement will not rest until everyone involved in both of these incidents is brought into custody. And then we're going to need the rest of the system to do its job to make sure they stay in custody. But again, it's frustrating. Every single incident, one victim in and of itself, even if they survive, it's very traumatizing to the family, to the block that they live on, the people who love them, as well as the community at large. And it's just exponentially worse in these cases. I was supposed to be in a meeting right now with community leaders. That got delayed, obviously, because of this. We've met with folks this morning, as well as the precinct inspector, and we're going to continue engaging with community, do everything that we can to help increase their sense of safety. But just, again, the message remains the same, and it's very urgent. Anyone who's able to come forward or to encourage someone else to come forward and provide information, even anonymously, is helpful. But we are on it. Let the Native American community know we are on it. All of law enforcement is on it. This is outrageous. It's absolutely senseless. And it just shows how completely reckless this is. That this is broad daylight out here with a toddler and an infant in a car seat nearly getting hit by a bullet. It's outrageous. Enough.
The message to our Native community is that we stand with them. We're going to do everything possible to bring these perpetrators to justice. And to be clear, our city, our police, our entire enterprise will not rest until we get the job done, and we're going to do it hand in hand with them.
I don't have anything confirmed. I'm dealing with this. I know I heard the radio transmission myself. I don't know if anything is confirmed there yet, but we will be on that as well.
Chief, Mayor,
thank you.
Thank you. And to all the partners standing here, thank you for your flexibility and patience today. It meant a lot. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one of the reasons we switched you is we have a homicide pent up that we didn't want in the scene. And so I just wanted to make sure we had try to get that away from you.
Is there no word on whether the government done or tomorrow or anything?
Again, we don't have that.
Nobody else.
That is true.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry and Police Chief Brian O'Hara talking about not one but two crime scenes, two shootings. The police chief saying there's been an outrageous amount of violence in the last 13 hours. There was a lot of information given there, so let me wrap things up for you to help it all make sense. This started last evening with a shooting in the Midtown neighborhood there. And 5 people were shot, Midtown Phillips neighborhood, excuse me. 5 people were shot in this scene here. 3 people died. We're told a 20-year-old woman, a 17-year-old male, and a 27-year-old male deceased. A 20-year-old woman and a 28-year-old man are still in the hospital, and their conditions, according to the chief, life-threatening, as he mentioned it. What we did learn here is that all of these people involved were part of the Native American community, and they said that they are going to be working with Native American community leaders to help with this situation. That leads us into today. Today's shooting happened just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can see it on your map right there. And this is also just a few blocks away, I believe 3 blocks away is what the chief said, from the shooting from last night. And while he wouldn't go so far as to say that these 2 shootings are related, he did say that people in the neighborhood are telling him that they probably are related, and they said they have to work with the evidence, though. Last night's shooting, he did say, was targeted and gang-related, and he did say oftentimes when things are gang-related, this is how people retaliate, this is what happens. He told us to make our own judgment based on the facts. At this particular scene today, and this is a live shot from Sky 11, happened right in front of this building here where the Native American, the Red Lake Nation Embassy is, and we were told that a man in his 30s died at the scene. And one of the shocking things that the chief mentioned here is that in this shooting, during this shooting, a bullet hit an SUV, which is awful enough, but apparently there was an infant and a toddler both in car seats in the back of that SUV, and the bullet missed them, thankfully, but he was very shocked about that and very concerned about that. Broad daylight, he said, enough is enough. So again, we are talking about 2 shootings potentially related, one last night where 3 people died, and one today where a man in his 30s died, all of them connected to the Native American community. We are told that by the mayor as well as by the police chief that all resources are being used to help bring these people to justice. They are asking anyone in the community, if you know something, to please say something, because that is the way that they will end up bringing someone into custody. But again, right now there is no one in custody for either of these shootings. So he did tell us, the chief, that they not only had resources from all across the city, but the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department was helping, as was the Ramsey County Sheriff. They were helping. The U of M was there today. Transit police were there today. So a lot of people involved in trying to solve these 2 crimes and figure out exactly how they are connected. We have crews on the scene, and we will have much more information for you. We have newscasts coming up at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock, and always at KARE11.com. You can come back to the stream. If we learn anything new, of course, we will break in here. But again, tune in to KARE 11 News at 4, 5, and 6 for the latest information on these shootings here in the city of Minneapolis.
CARE's coverage just wrapping now. It seems like there will be more to come from this investigation throughout the evening portion. Again, our stream will come back tonight at 7 to 9. We'll update not only the situation, but others that we have. We don't want to forget, in the next 8 minutes or so, Jane Monreal and Nick Sturdivant will take over for our linear show at 4 p.m. But for now, there's a Senate hearing going on the floor in Washington, D.C. We're just gathering more information on this. We'll get back to you in the coming moments.
Assertion that non-citizens are voting is alarming. Fortunately, it's not true. Also, federal law already bars non-citizens from voting in congressional and presidential elections. So this is not a question of whether there's some backdoor effort on the part of one party to allow non-citizens to vote. Can't be done. Illegal now. This executive order would not change that. Study after study has also shown that the rate of non-citizen voting is incredibly small, almost too small to measure, roughly 0.0001%, according to a reliable estimate. And obviously, that error is so small that it's hard to measure and would not have any material impact on our elections. And if you don't believe me, ask folks over at the Libertarian Cato Institute, very conservative organization. And they have labeled President Trump's claims about non-citizen voting as bogus. Their word, not mine. The order of the president also raises significant constitutional issues, Mr. President. The Constitution entrusts our states, and in the case of certain core rules of conduct, Congress, with the authority to regulate elections, not the executive. The executive order President Trump has signed flips that framework and purports to vest the president with expansive new powers that he does not have, not just him, but any chief executive. And it attempts to enact through executive fiat what the Trump administration seemingly believes it cannot achieve through the legislative process, through an act of Congress, namely Senate consideration of the SAVE Act, many provisions of which are contained in the president's executive order. And I ask my colleagues to join me in focusing our attention on the very real problems that confront our nation and are pushing back against the Trump administration's usurpation of the Senate's constitutional prerogatives. Mr. President, President Trump is attacking the right to vote with respect to dismantling of the Department of Justice organization of attorneys that are being punished for their efforts to protect that right to a vote. That organization within the Justice Department is being actively dismantled. And the president has currently used the Department of Justice as a tool to enact his, in my view, very extreme policy positions. And that includes the Civil Rights Division at the department, whose mission includes protecting the right to vote. And according to press reports, all career supervisors in the voting rights section have been reassigned to other positions completely outside their areas of expertise. In other words, it's about destroying the Civil Rights Division. Assistant Attorney General Harmet Dillon, surely at the direction of the White House, is punishing career attorneys. This is outrageous. Also, reportedly, political appointees at the Department of Justice have ordered the dismissal of all active cases and the closing of all active investigations by the section. Our Civil Rights Division within the Department of Justice has a revered history for standing up for the rights of all citizens and their constitutional rights to be enforced and protected. And that brazen attack on the Civil Rights Division will leave it totally unable, as the President apparently prefers, to defend the democratic right of our citizens to vote. Mr. President, I urge my colleagues to oppose the President's executive order. I yield back.
The senator from Connecticut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of all the thrills of living in a democracy, none is more meaningful than walking into a voting booth and casting a ballot. I can remember the first time I did it when I came of age. I can remember always, and I see it again and again and again, new citizens walking out of the courtroom after the naturalization ceremony with their certificates of citizenship in their hands to the League of Women Voters person who is doing voter registration. It's the thrill of their lifetime to be registered. Of all the rights we have, voting is perhaps the most meaningful and most precious. It's foundational to all the others. It's the way we preserve the others. And that's why the fight for voting rights, and blood has been spilled in the effort to secure it, is a storied bedrock of our American history. And now, again, as there has been throughout our history, there are efforts to suppress that right for political reasons, for
Voting rights, a hot topic in the U.S. Senate right now on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., but an exciting day in Columbia as the city is getting ready to unveil a statue honoring the great Dawn Staley, the women's head basketball coach. Numerous championships, of course, so many players into the